Chapter 1240. Su Mei had never mentioned her family to He Yu, and He Yu had only met them once. He did not know much about them, so when Su Mei refused to let Su Mei's mother borrow the house, he spoke up for Su Mei's mother. He Yu was a filial son. He was filial to his family and thought that he should not favor one over the other. Who knew that the two of them would quarrel because of this? Shi Shang could hear them even from outside the courtyard. In the original plot, He Yu was not around at this time. He had other tasks. When the group of people bullied Su Mei, He Yu stepped on a colorful cloud and came to save the Cinderella in distress. "Little girl, why do you care so much about He Yu?" Yi Chen drove over from the military area. When he saw Shi Shang standing outside the military compound, he rolled down the window and stared at her. She seemed to be overly concerned about He Yu. Although he knew that she wanted to kill him, he was still unhappy. Shi Shang walked to the window. "Why are you here?" Yi Chen was unhappy. "Why can't I be here? I haven't seen you for 12 hours. 12 hours was nothing. It was less than a day. Why don't you hang on me?" Yi Chen nodded seriously. "Sure. Find a rope and hang me up." Shi Shang's mouth twitched. "You're so big. I can't hang on you." "Then hang on me." "I can." Yi Chen gestured with his chin. "Get in the car." "How long do you want to stand here? We're watching a show. Why are you getting in the car? Go back and help Mom cook." She was not leaving until the show was over. Yi Chen's face turned ugly again. "Get in the car." Shi Shang was speechless. Shi Shang sighed and went to the car. She had just sat down when Yi Chen leaned over and kissed her. Then, he drove back to the Gu family's courtyard with a dark face. Shi Shang was baffled. What's wrong with him again? Yi Chen's face was dark for a long time. When he came in through the window at night, Shi Shang felt that it would not end well tonight. Sure enough, Yi Chen kept tormenting her until the middle of the night, but she still had to hold it in. It would be awkward if Mr. and Mrs. Gu heard it. After he was done, Yi Chen turned on the bedside lamp and looked at the Shi Shang. "Little girl." Shi Shang didn't even want to move a finger. The tip of his nose twitched and he responded softly. Yi Chen reached out and brushed away the strands of hair in front of her forehead, revealing her beautiful eyes. He kissed the space between her eyebrows. "Don't look at others, okay?" Shi Shang was silent for a few seconds. "Then gouge my eyes out." Damn it, she just didn't like him touching other women. He couldn't even look at it. "I can't bear to." Shi Shang opened his eyes. "You really thought about it?" An unknown emotion flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. "Little girl, I won't hurt you." He couldn't do it. Even if she cried out in pain on the bed, he would carefully endure it and wait for her to get used to it before he started. Shi Shang rolled his eyes and closed them again. "If you had such thoughts, I would have killed you long ago." Yi Chen pulled her into his arms and his low voice echoed in the room. "Do you believe in past and present lives in this world?" Shi Shang gave an ambiguous "I've been having dreams recently. There are many people from different dynasties in them. I can't see their faces clearly, but I have a feeling that it's you." Shi Shang opened his eyes slightly. Was his memory starting to recover? Shi Shang waited for a few seconds before replying, "If you believe it, then there is. If you don't, then there isn't." Yi Chen's breathing was steady. He touched Shi Shang's earlobe. She seemed to know something. If she didn't know, what he said just now was enough to make her explode. Her possessiveness towards him was no less than his. Could it be that she was really a vixen? Yi Chen was amused by this thought. He wouldn't mind even if she was a white vixen, let alone a vixen. Yi Chen turned off the lights and hugged Shi Shang in the dark. His breathing gradually stabilized. After a long time, a voice was heard in the room. "I believe it." Shi Shang moved and wrapped his arms around his waist. After that, there was no more movement. The war in Su Mei's family was getting more and more intense. Her family refused to leave and even spread rumors about how unfilial Su Mei was. It was a bad influence. He was not having a good time because he did not complete the mission given by Jiang Jianhua. He was bullied in the military and had to watch the family war when he returned home. Recently, Su Mei was either quarreling with him or giving him the cold shoulder. No matter what he said, she would sneer at him. He Yu's anger was accumulating bit by bit. Therefore, when He Yu received a new mission, he agreed without hesitation. When he left, he did not even tell Su Mei. Su Mei only found out that he was out on a mission when she asked. This undoubtedly caused Su Mei to feel displeased. Su Mei's family war was won by her family in the end. To put it bluntly, Su Mei was just an ordinary person. Her golden finger came from the future. She was familiar with the direction of some industries and could seize the opportunity in advance. However, her family was unreasonable. Without He Yu's support and the two of them quarreled, Su Mei's state of mind was naturally very different. This was the butterfly effect. Changing one detail could change a person's ending. After her family got the courtyard, Su Mei calmed herself down and continued to take care of her shop. However, these people did not stop for long and came to her door again. Let me tell you, Su Mei, we also have a share of this shop. How can you monopolize it? That's right, Su Mei. You can't forget your roots. Look at how good your business is now. You have to help your family, right? Su Mei, I was the one who ran errands for you so that you could marry He Yu. Now that your life is better, you can't forget me as your aunt. These people came to Su Mei's shop and demanded that Su Mei split the money. Otherwise, they would let them take care of it. Shi Shang came to buy something for that prodigal Yi Chen. He happened to hear someone talking about it and ran over to watch the show. If she met this group of outrageous relatives, she would definitely kill them all. At this moment, Su Mei was surrounded in the middle. She looked at the people around her with a cold expression. Shi Shang guessed that she was about to explode. Sure enough, when Su Mei's aunt pushed her, she suddenly retaliated. She grabbed the stool beside her and roared, "Get out! Su Mei, do you still want to hit people? Do you still have any respect for us elders? How can you be so unfilial?" Su Mei's threat was ignored and they continued to talk nonsense. Su Mei was furious. She threw the stool at the person who spoke. Ah! At this moment, the people who were surrounding her immediately dispersed and ran out of the shop. They kept shouting, "She hit people, she hit people." Su Mei stood at the door and pointed at the group of outrageous relatives. "Let me tell you, don't even think about getting a single cent from me." Chapter 1241. Everyone in the town knew about Su Mei's incident. In the next few days, those crazy relatives kept making trouble outside her store. Su Mei called the police, but it didn't work. They didn't do anything, just make trouble outside. The police came and at most persuaded them to leave. They could be persuaded to leave once, but could they be persuaded to leave every time? Su Mei's business couldn't continue. Suddenly, she received a call from Huang Mailan, saying that they couldn't continue the cooperation. Her main income came from the cooperation with Huang Mailan. At this time, Huang Mailan suddenly said that they couldn't cooperate. Su Mei immediately bought a ticket to find Huang Mailan. "Sister Huang, didn't we cooperate well? Why did you suddenly go back on your word?" Huang Mailan also frowned and sighed. "Xiao Mei, I'm really sorry. Dongfeng department store is now crowded by Shangji. My economy is also very bad." "Sister Huang, didn't you make money before?" "I'm sure." Huang Mailan shook her head. "Xiao Mei, you're still too young. Some things can't be done just because you want to." The expression on Su Mei's face suddenly froze. Huang Mailan helplessly patted Su Mei's shoulder. "I can't afford to offend the Yi family. Xiao Mei, take care. I'll pay you the liquidated damages." This little girl was very brave. Unfortunately, she offended someone she shouldn't offend. Yi family? Which Yi family? Su Mei's mind turned back and forth. Suddenly, a face appeared. That man. Why did he want to deal with her? That's right, Gulan, it's her. It must be because of her. Su Mei returned to the town in a daze and found that her store had been sold. Su Mei's aunt found the property certificate of the store in Su Mei's residence. While Su Mei was away, she urged Su Mei's mother to go to her residence and take the property certificate. In this era, it didn't matter if the owner came or not. Su Mei immediately called the police. But the police said that it was her family who sold the house, so it was legal. However, she could hire a lawyer to sue. If she won, she might be able to get the money back. That group of family members had already taken the money back to their hometown. Even the house she gave out before was sold by them. Su Mei was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Su Mei walked all the way back to the military family compound. When she looked up, she saw two people coming out. The man was dressed casually, and his handsome face had a ruffian smile. As he was talking, the girl next to him kicked him. He smiled and jumped away, his face full of indulgence. The two of them were so compatible. Su Mei stood in the middle of the road in a daze as she watched the two of them approach. When they got closer, the smirk on the man's face was gone, leaving only coldness. Just like that time in the cave, his entire body was emitting an unapproachable aura, making people shudder in fear. Su Mei didn't step aside. She opened her cracked lips. "Gulan, why are you targeting me?" Shi Sheng paused and smiled. "I don't like you. You and I are already married. You were a mistress when you pestered him. Now that you have a boyfriend, why are you still targeting me?" What was wrong with her defending her position as the wife? Shi Sheng could clearly feel the murderous aura of the person beside him. "But that's the original owner's fault, I won't take it." Shi Sheng squeezed Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen glanced at her and the murderous aura around him slowly faded away. Shi Sheng heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Su Mei. "Miss Su, be reasonable. What happened to you now has nothing to do with me. Your family is the one who sold the shop. If you have a grudge, you should take it out on them." Su Mei tightened her grip on her clothes. "Are you the one who told Sister Huang not to work with me? Huang Meilan?" She hadn't seen her recently. When did she tell her not to work with the female lead? Shi Sheng tilted his head and looked at Yi Chen. The latter smiled as if he was waiting for a compliment. Shi Sheng, was she going to take the blame again? What the f*ck? Shi Sheng took a deep breath. "Even if I did it, what can you do to me?" "You." Su Mei was at a loss for words. What could she do to her? She couldn't do anything to her. Su Mei gritted her teeth and her eyes were full of determination. "I won't be defeated by you." She turned around and ran into her courtyard, leaving Shi Sheng with the tragic figure of a warrior who would never return. "Why are you picking on her?" Shi Sheng asked the person beside him after Su Mei's figure had completely disappeared. "Weren't you the one who picked on her first?" Yi Chen asked back. "I'm just following my wife's footsteps. You used to make things difficult for them. Now I'm making things difficult for them. Aren't you happy?" "Them?" Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows. "What did you do to Yu?" "I gave him a little beauty." "Shi Sheng. What an interesting choice of shoes you're making." Yi Chen held Shi Sheng's hand and pulled her towards him. His voice was overflowing with danger. "Little girl, let's settle the score now." "Ah, I seem to have forgotten something. I'll go back and get it." Why did she have to take the blame for the original owner? She refused. She didn't want to take the blame. Yi Chen didn't stop her and followed her back. Shi Sheng felt that it was more dangerous to go back. Mother Gu had taken the initiative to send food to Father Gu so that they could cultivate their relationship. She hadn't returned yet. Shi Sheng was about to slip away when Yi Chen grabbed her waist and brought her back to the courtyard. They closed the door and settled the score. Shi Sheng hated the original owner's rotten peach blossoms. Su Mei said that she wouldn't be defeated. If she could do it once, she could do it again. However, just as she was starting to look better, Yu, who had been missing for a long time, suddenly sent a letter back. Or rather, the letter wasn't from Yu, but from Yu's new wife. When Su Mei and Yu got married, He Yu was very unhappy and didn't register their marriage. Later, Shi Shang interfered and Su Mei and He Yu had feelings for each other, so they didn't register their marriage. So now that He Yu suddenly had another wife, it wasn't considered bigamy. Su Mei was about to explode when she received the letter. She put down the things in her hands and went to look for He Yu. She didn't know what He Yu had experienced in such a short period of time, but he had changed completely. If it was a sharp sword that had not been discovered before, then it was now a useless sword that had been polished to the point that it had lost its sharpness. Faced with Su Mei's questions, He Yu either responded with silence or told her to go back and not look for him again. He Yu, I thought you were different. Su Mei's eyes were a little red. Goodbye, Su Mei. He Yu stood up from his seat, left the shop, and got into a car outside. Su Mei chased after him, but only saw the exhaust from the car. Why did everything turn out like this? *1. Don't ask me what they worked together about. I don't know either. The top 10 unsolved mysteries continued to increase. 2. I don't know if the person in question was alive or not, but it doesn't matter. It's just a story. It's not true. 3. He Yu's change is related to the weakening of his male lead halo. The weaker the halo, the easier it is for him to change. Chapter 1242. Shi Shang saw He Yu at the wedding. He was standing with a lady. That lady did not look like a good person. She would scold anyone who looked at He Yu. He Yu's eyebrows were furrowed. What did you do to him? Shi Shang lowered his voice and asked Yi Chen, who was standing beside him. You care about him a lot? Shi Shang rolled his eyes. Why don't you kill him? Of course I care about him. I care about whether he's dead or not. Yi Chen's gaze passed through the crowd and landed on He Yu. He said meaningfully, It's more painful to be alive. I think it's easier to kill him. If I don't kill him, I'll cause trouble. I'm scared. I don't like to kill people. You can hire someone to do it. The best man, Xiao Shang, turned pale. These two people were actually discussing such a terrible thing as killing people at the wedding. It's a wedding. It's a wedding. It's the most romantic moment of my life. Are you planning to wash the wedding with blood? Fortunately, what Xiao Shang was worried about did not happen. The wedding went smoothly. Well, the only thing that was not harmonious was that Father Gu and Father Yi almost quarreled at the wedding. No matter what grudges they had been treating each other coldly for so many years. Suddenly, they had to get along well. They quarreled intensely. Suddenly, someone came to report that Shi Shang and Yi Chen had slipped away from the wedding. They could only put aside their internal conflicts for the time being. Su Mei stood outside the hotel and looked at the wedding photos placed at the entrance. Her hands were tightly clenched into fists. Gulan, what right do you have to ruin my life like this? When Su Mei was about to leave, she saw He Yu coming out from the corner of her eye. She paused and immediately chased after He Yu. He Yu walked very quickly. Su Mei chased him to an alley before she caught up with him. He Yu stood at the other end of the alley. He looked over and frowned. He seemed unhappy and impatient. Why are you still here? Su Mei ran forward and opened her arms to hug He Yu. He Yu, tell me, do you have any difficulties? He Yu pushed her away with a gloomy expression. I don't have any difficulties. Stop pestering me. He Yu. Su Mei hugged him even tighter. He Yu frowned and pushed Su Mei away with more force. Su Mei staggered and fell to the ground. He Yu didn't even look at her. He strode away, leaving Su Mei with only his back to her. She gritted her teeth, stood up from the ground, and limped after He Yu. He Yu went to the main street and bought 2 kinds of pastries from a stall. Then, he took the pastries and walked back. Su Mei stood at the corner of the street, watching He Yu disappear into the crowd. Was he in such a hurry just to buy pastries for his new wife? Su Mei returned to the military family compound in a daze. This place. How could she stay any longer? She left the military family compound under the gaze of a group of people who were waiting to watch a good show. She still had some money on hand, so she rented a house in the county town. After being dispirited for a long time, Su Mei pulled herself together again. Although Su Mei's female lead halo had faded a little, it hadn't completely disappeared. If she wanted to do business, it would always be easier than others. However, that group of extreme relatives refused to leave. At first, they wanted to forcefully take it, but later on, they even resorted to snatching it. She didn't know what they had bribed the police, but when Su Mei reported the case, they said that it was a family matter and that they wouldn't care if no one died. With this group of people around, how could Su Mei do business? She had no choice but to leave and go outside. 10 years later. After the millennium, the real estate industry rose rapidly. The price of land rose day by day. In T-City, there was a large piece of land, but the owner couldn't be contacted. The custodian said that this person hadn't appeared since he bought the land. After so many years, the original contact number was no longer available. President Su, we still can't contact him. Su Mei left that small county town and came to T-City. She started from scratch and reached the scale of her business today. She had suffered a lot, but she still did it. She became a person above others. Su Mei's eyes had the sharpness of a businesswoman after many years of polishing. What did the Ministry of Land and Resources say? The buyer has gone through the proper procedures. The Ministry of Land and Resources didn't say anything. Su Mei knocked on the table. If we can't buy that piece of land, we have to change the land plans we bought previously. Think of a way. We must contact someone. Yes. Su Mei suddenly stopped him. Wait a minute. Let me see that person's information. The man went out and came back with a document. Su Mei was stunned when she saw it. Gulan. How could it be her? She hadn't heard much about her in the past few years. But the young master of the Yi family often appeared in the newspapers. He didn't continue to be in the army. Instead, he took over the family business. After he took over, the Yi family grew bigger and became a household name. Old memories suddenly came to her mind. She had worked hard for so many years, but she still couldn't beat him. President Su? Su Mei took a deep breath. Go and contact the people from the Delon group. Ah! The man was stunned. He didn't understand why the topic suddenly changed. Do we have any projects with the Delon group? Compared to them, the Delon group was a big company. Why did President Su contact them? This person. Su Mei felt a little out of breath. After a while, she said, is the wife of the president of the Delon group. If possible, Su Mei didn't want to contact the Sheng, but it wasn't easy for her to get the land. If she just gave it up, she would lose a lot. What? The wife of the president of the Delon group? She bought the land so early? Why did it sound so surreal? Su Mei didn't want to explain more. She waved her hand. Don't use my name. The man rushed to the headquarters of the Delon group in Beijing without stopping. I'm sorry, sir. We have asked our superiors. Our group doesn't have any land resources in T-City. You may have made a mistake. I hope you can go back and verify it. The man handed the information presented by the Ministry of Land and Resources to the front desk. It's not your group. It's the wife of the president. The front desk looked at him and took the information. She smiled. I'm sorry. The wife of the president is not in the country at the moment. Then can't you contact her? I really have something important to talk to her about. The front desk smiled politely. I'm sorry. We can't contact her. Then can you give me a way to contact her? I'm sorry. I can't. The man's face was full of frustration. Thinking about it, the wife of the president of a big group was not someone he could meet whenever he wanted. What's the matter? A voice interrupted from the side. I heard you mention the wife of the president a few times just now. Did young Master Yi make Xiao Lan angry again? Mr. Xiao. The front desk was even more polite. This gentleman wants to see the wife of the president. Xiao Shang looked at the man. What's the situation? The front desk told Xiao Shang what happened. Xiao Shang asked the front desk to bring the phone over. He dialed the number of the president's office on the top floor. The other side picked up very quickly. Xiaolon, when did you buy the land? He's here looking for you now. Hashtag today's ticket for the Taste of Rymania. Hashtag it's the end of the month. See if you have any monthly tickets in your pockets. T to the power of T. Hashtag work hard and send me to the top 10. T to the power of T. Hashtag. Chapter 1243. Shi Shang met with that person. As soon as he heard the name of the company, he knew who was behind it. Mrs. Yi, what price are you willing to pay? Tell me the price and I will return it to the company. The land is not for sale. We are not short of money. Shi Shang sat down like a big boss. That person choked. Was Dilon Group short of money? Of course not. But Mrs. Yi, this land is useless to you. As long as the price is within the range we can accept, we can buy it. Who said I am useless? Can't I keep it as a cemetery? Shi Shang sneered. Such a good location for a cemetery. She was worthy of being the rich wife of the CEO. She was not something an ordinary person like him could compare with. That person talked for a long time, but Shi Shang only said a few words. Not for sale. Willful. Have money. Keep it for a cemetery. In the end, that person could only go back to report. It was not that he was incompetent. It was that the CEO's wife was stubborn. Su Mei had no choice. She could only ask people to redesign and bypass that piece of land. However, when Su Mei's project was about to be completed, workers suddenly began to come in and out of that piece of land. Was it about to start construction? Su Mei asked people to inquire about what they were going to build. But the people who inquired for a long time didn't get any information. Those workers coming in and out either didn't know anything or kept silent. Mrs. Su, I have inquired. I have inquired. They are going to build a cemetery there. What? Su Mei stood up. Say it again. That person gasped and said with a strange expression, build a cemetery. Is the information accurate? That person nodded. I just met an acquaintance. He told me. It can't be wrong. Gu Lan. Su Mei's eyes were burning with anger. She was building an office building. If she built a cemetery in the middle, who would dare to work here? The most important thing was that her project was almost finished. It was impossible to give it up. Su Mei reported this matter to the relevant department. That piece of land was almost in the city center. If Shi Shang wanted to build a cemetery here, T-City would definitely not agree. That was a prime location. How could it be used to build a cemetery? However, this group of people's opposition had no effect. The construction of the cemetery finally started, and it was a high-end building. The original owner's wish was to live better than the female lead. She didn't say that she wanted to kill her. Then, he would anger her to death. When Su Mei heard the news, she almost had a heart attack. The construction speed of the cemetery was very fast. When Su Mei's project was almost completed, the cemetery was also almost finished. Su Mei had seen a bird's-eye view of the cemetery. Trees were everywhere, and gardens of different shapes were interconnected. There were even fountains and pavilions. If they didn't know that this was a cemetery, no one would think that this was a cemetery. However, no matter how high-end the cemetery was, it was still a cemetery. Not to mention selling Su Mei's office building, very few people even came to rent it. They were all businessmen, and graveyards didn't represent good luck. Everyone was wary of them. Su Mei had not been able to recoup her capital for a long time. She would definitely lose money. She could not get back the money she had invested. Even if she lowered the rent, very few people would come to rent it. Su Mei was so angry that she bought a ticket to Beijing to find the Shi Shang. When Su Mei stood downstairs of Dilon Group, she suddenly felt a little timid in her heart. She looked up at the tall building in front of her. This building belonged to Dilon Group. Just as she was hesitating whether to enter or not, a voice suddenly sounded from behind her. Su Mei. Sume turned her head and saw an unfamiliar woman. Her makeup was exquisite and she was dressed very fashionably. She was holding a 5-year-old boy's hand. Sume knew who the child was at one glance. "It's really you." The woman held the boy's hand and walked closer. "I thought I saw wrongly." "I don't know you." Sume's eyes were cold. Since that time, she had never looked for Hiyu again. Since Hiyu didn't want her, why should she pester him? Sume thought that she would forget that man. However, after so many years, the men around her had stopped and left, but no one could enter her heart like Hiyu. "Miss Sue, you haven't seen me before. It's normal that you don't know me." The woman smiled coquettishly. "But you know my husband. His name is Hiyu." The woman was obviously showing off. "Miss Sue, you seem to be doing well. I'm relieved. I really let you down back then, but Miss Sue is magnanimous. You won't hold it against me." Sume stabbed back coldly. "There's no need to hold a grudge against a mistress." The woman's expression changed slightly. After a moment, she returned to normal. "Oh, by the way, Miss Sue, this is my husband's son. Darling, call me Auntie," the boy called out crisply. Sume didn't want to see the woman showing off. She walked towards the entrance of D-Lon Group. She entered the entrance, but the front desk didn't let her see the Sheng. She had to make an appointment. Sume didn't even have the Sheng's contact information. How could she make an appointment? Sume came out and saw the woman standing outside. Her face darkened. What was this woman trying to do? Hiyu was already her husband. Did she have to show off in front of her? "Miss Sue, I see that you're here for business. Do you have a place to stay? What do you want?" Sume was already angry. Her tone was a little harsh. "You and I have nothing to do with each other. Do you have to show off in front of me? What's the point? Miss Sue, why are you so angry? I don't mean anything else." The woman felt wronged. She reached out and tried to pull Sume. "I know Miss Sue is still holding a grudge about what happened in the past. I'm sorry. Miss Sue, you can ask for any compensation you want. I'll do my best to make it up to you." Sume didn't push the woman away. Instead, she sneered. "Okay, I want to see D-Lon Group's Gulon. Can you help me make an appointment with her?" The woman was stunned for a moment. Then she recovered quickly. D-Lon Group's CEO's wife? Mr. Yi doesn't like her to appear in the public eye. So, except for the people around her, very few people can make an appointment with her. "Miss Sue, why are you looking for her?" "This has nothing to do with you. Didn't you say you want to make it up to me? You can't even do such a simple request? Why are you talking to me hypocritically about making it up to me?" After so many years, Sume had learned to use all the conditions she could. A trace of disgust flashed in the woman's eyes. She retracted her hand. "I'll find a way to make an appointment for you. Miss Sue, leave your contact information. I'll inform you when the appointment is made." Sume gave her a business card. The woman held the business card and watched Sume leave. A moment later, the business card in her hand was deformed. She glanced at a car in the distance and unfolded the business card. She put it back into her handbag and carried the boy to the car. The woman opened the car door and put the boy in the back. Then she got into the front passenger seat. "You, guess who I saw just now?" The man glanced at her and remained silent. Compared to 10 years ago, the man's face was even more vicious. Chapter 1244. Sume had been trying to find a way to meet Sheng. She had been waiting in front of D-Lon Group for a few days and finally met Sheng. She came out of the gate alone and stood at the door as if she was waiting for someone. She was even prettier than 10 years ago. She was beautiful and delicate, like a flower that was being carefully cared for. She was indeed a flower that was being cared for. She heard that Yi Chan had destroyed a collaboration worth hundreds of millions just because the boss of the other party took a few more glances at her. It was fine if they wanted to work with D-Lon, but they had to ignore their boss's wife. If they didn't want others to look at them, they shouldn't have brought them out. But what important occasion did this boss have to bring his wife to? Madame Yi was so beautiful, how could they not take a few more glances at her? Sume thought about what had happened to her in the past few years. It was like heaven and earth compared to her. Sume took a deep breath and ran over. Gulan. Sume was a little embarrassed when she first started her business, but the company's situation had gradually improved over the past few years. She had also started to pay attention to her appearance. After all, she was the female lead. Even if she wore a business suit, she would still be eye-catching. When Shishang stood beside her, Shishang looked more like a rich young lady who had not experienced much. On the other hand, Sume was like a red plum that had experienced wind and rain but was not afraid of the cold. She had a different charm. The corner of Shishang's lips lifted slightly. "Oh, Miss Su." Sume inexplicably felt that Shishang's smile was ironic. The coldness in her eyes froze and she said in an unfriendly tone, "Gulan, it has been so many years. Why are you still holding on to me?" "Miss Su, are you talking about the cemetery?" Shishang raised his eyebrows. "That's my land." "Miss Su, you can't control what I want to do, right? You're doing it on purpose." That piece of land had been left there for so many years. "Why did you want to build a cemetery now? What grudge do you have against me?" "What grudge?" Shishang paused. "Well, Miss Su, do you still remember when you were kidnapped?" Hearing Shishang suddenly mention the past, she was a little absent-minded. "It had been so many years. Do you know what would have happened if I hadn't escaped in advance?" Sume's memories flooded in like a floodgate valve. Her expression changed rapidly. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Didn't you also not save me in the cave?" "Why should I save you? Gulan was kidnapped because of you. Did I ask you to go to the mountain?" Shishang tilted his head. "But I'm also very curious. Why did you go to the mountain?" The female lead's appearance on the mountain was simply inexplicable. It didn't make sense at all. Sume did not answer Shishang's question. "You were the one who came looking for trouble with me. If you didn't come looking for me, how could you have been kidnapped?" "Fine, I'm not going to talk about this with you. Anyway, you're beautiful and you're right. I'm just a player who's doing quests and breaking up couples. What's the point of caring about these things?" Shishang saw that Yi Chen's car had arrived and walked past Sume. "Don't think about the land. I'm going to build the cemetery. This is my land. No one has the right to tell me what to build. There's nothing wrong with that." Sume caught up with Shishang and reached out to grab him. "Gulan, don't go overboard. I can do anything if you push me too far. The worst thing is death. Come on." Shishang shook off Sume and sneered. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Yi Chen rushed out of the car before the car came to a stop. He pulled Shishang into his arms and asked Shishang in a low voice, "Are you okay? When have you ever seen me being taken advantage of?" Yi Chen touched Shishang's head. "Don't talk to irrelevant people. It's a waste of your time. If he had time, he would rather spend it with him. Even if he did not do anything, he would be in a good mood." Sume froze on the spot. Compared to 10 years ago, she actually felt afraid when she saw this man now. Yi Chen hugged Shishang and got into the car. Before getting into the car, he glanced at Sume and then closed the door. Before Sume and Shishang could reach a conclusion, Yi Chen came out and took him away. Sume had been waiting for so many days in vain. She returned to the hotel and lay on the bed tiredly. Her mind was filled with images of the past. Her mind was groggy and her consciousness gradually drifted away. She seemed to have returned to the explosion that year. She saw the explosion, chaos, and cries. In that explosion, Gulan died. Her life was completely different from what it was now. She was with He Yu and had a happy life with a cute child. The images in her dream suddenly began to shatter. Sume woke up from her dream. Buzz. In the empty room, there was only a buzzing sound. She touched her forehead. How could she have such a dream? The dream was the opposite of reality. In the dream, Gulan died, but in reality, she was still alive. Sume took a while to reach for her phone. Hello. Miss Su, I helped you make an appointment with Madam Yi. A car will pick you up at 10 o'clock tomorrow. A woman's voice came through the phone. Su Mei's confused mind suddenly became clear. She held the phone tightly. Okay. The woman said a few words and hung up the phone. Su Mei looked at the phone in a daze. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Su Mei got in the car that picked her up. The car drove all the way to the remote suburbs. Only Su Mei and the driver were in the car. Su Mei looked outside and asked the driver in front. Where are we going? Miss Su, Madam Yi doesn't like crowded places, so the meeting place is at a villa in the suburbs. The driver replied. I see. Su Mei nodded as if she understood. She didn't continue to ask and lowered her head to press the phone. The car drove for a long time. It was about noon when they arrived at the villa mentioned by the driver. The woman was at the door of the villa. She smiled and welcomed her in. Miss Su, you've had a hard time on the road. But you know Madam Yi is not easy to meet. You have to follow her wishes. Su Mei didn't say anything. She entered the villa with a woman with a cold face. The woman led Su Mei to the dining room. Madam Yi hasn't arrived yet. Let's eat first. You really made an appointment with Gulan? The woman made a guilty face as if she really wanted to make it up to her. Don't worry. I won't lie to you. Su Mei looked around and sat at the table. The dishes were served one after another. The dishes were very rich. Su Mei took a few bites with her chopsticks and put them down without any appetite. When will Gulan arrive? I'll help you ask. The woman quickly got up and went to the other side of the dining room to make a call. She hung up the phone and came back. Madam Yi will be here soon. Su Mei seemed to be a little impatient. She grabbed the glass on the table and took a sip. Why are you looking at me? Su Mei put down the glass and looked at the woman. A trace of panic flashed across the woman's delicate face. She quickly took the glass on the table and took a sip to hide her panic. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Yi Chen, I won't let you sleep today. Shi Shang. Cold, why? Yi Chen. Uncle. Shi Shang, draws sword. Is Uncle Defu still around? Yi Chen was speechless. My uncle ran away from home with little Yi Chen. Shi Shang, little fairy. Upstairs, don't drive. Let me ask for a proper ticket. Shi Shang, angry. Get lost. Little fairy. Your wife won't let you sleep. Why are you yelling at me? I'm just asking for a ticket. Do you think it's easy for me? Cherub. Eating melon seeds and watching the show. Chapter 1245. The woman moved her stiff neck and her mind went blank. What happened to her? Where was this place? You're awake. The woman heard the voice and looked up. She widened her eyes in disbelief. You. Why are you fine? What did you do to me? Let me go. The woman realized that she was tied up and struggled to stand up. Su Mei, let me go. Su Mei sat in the dark corner of the room. Her voice was emotionless. I just made you drink what you wanted me to drink. She walked out from the dark. I've been in the business world for 10 years. Do you think you can fool me with your little tricks? She and Gulan had just met, and Gulan wasn't someone that this woman could invite. She still had some common sense. She came to see what this woman wanted to do. My men are all outside. Do you think you can escape? The woman suddenly calmed down. He would be here soon and she had to stall for time. Su Mei, you're just a loser. I could take you away 10 years ago. 10 years later, I can still make you lose everything. Su Mei's face was a little distorted. You're already with Yu. Why do you still want to deal with me? So what if we're together? She's always thinking about you. Even in bed, she calls your name. I'm going to get rid of you today. The woman said fiercely. Do you know how much I've hated you for the past 10 years? Su Mei was stunned. Then, she laughed. You hate me? What right do you have to hate me? Weren't you the one who took him away from me? That's because you're useless. You can't blame others. The woman sneered. Yes, blame me for being useless. Then today, you'll have a taste of what you've prepared for me. The woman suddenly panicked. What do you want to do? Su Mei opened the door. Don't you know what you want to do to me? If you dare to touch me, my family and you will not let you off. The woman screamed. Su Mei, come back. Do you want to die? Su Mei walked out of the door and a man came in. The door closed slowly and the woman's scream came through the gap. It was especially ear-piercing. By the time Yu found the woman, it was already too late. Although she wasn't injured, her body was already tainted. The woman hated Su Mei and asked her family to help her suppress Su Mei. Su Mei, who was already in a difficult situation, became even more difficult because of this. The woman hated Yu as well and didn't look at him kindly. Back then, Yu had been sent to the woman's side to obtain a piece of information. However, he had been drugged by her and she had something on him. All these years, he had been tolerating it. He didn't know if it was for his own future or for Su Mei. In short, he silently endured it. But at this moment, seeing the woman's crazy appearance, Yu's suppressed anger for so many years couldn't help but erupt. Perhaps Yu's sudden outburst triggered the woman. She ran out of the hospital. Miss Su, you have to consider this condition carefully. The man's hand touched Su Mei's thigh under the table, and he smiled wretchedly. Marry me. Don't say that you want investments. I'll even pluck the stars for you if you want them. Su Mei stood up immediately. Director Liu, I'll take my leave. Mr. Liu grabbed Su Mei and pressed her onto the table. Su Mei, what are you pretending for? I heard that you have many men around you and have been played by many of them, right? How about this? Accompany me for one night and I'll invest. How about that? Mr. Liu couldn't help but rub and pinch her body, his breathing rapid. Su Mei's face was filled with disgust. She lifted her leg and kicked Mr. Liu, pushing him away forcefully. She took the wine bottle on the table and hit Mr. Liu's head. Mr. Liu cried out in pain and covered his head with his hand. Blood seeped through the gaps between his fingers. Su Mei tugged at her clothes, turned around and left the private room. She rushed out of the restaurant. After leaving the restaurant, Su Mei ran along the road for a distance. She gradually slowed down and walked forward with a numb expression. These days, all the men she met were like this. They didn't even finish a sentence and they immediately went to bed with her. Su Mei felt that the sounds around her were disappearing. Those annoying faces gradually disappeared, and only silence was left. After some time, the annoying noise came again. She heard someone screaming. The person in front of her was waving at her with all his might, his face full of fear. Bang! The world turned upside down. Su Mei felt that she had fallen from the sky and hit the hood of the car. She saw the woman in the car with a crazy expression and eyes full of hatred. Go to hell, go to hell. Su Mei, go to hell. She seemed to have returned to her previous life. When she died, it was also so peaceful. All of this seemed like a dream to her. Yes, it was a dream. It was time to wake up from this dream. When Yu arrived, Su Mei had already died and the woman was detained for intentional injury. The woman was found to be mentally ill. Her family did some work and the woman was soon fine. Yu suppressed all the anger and hatred in his heart and showed that he wouldn't leave them. When the woman's family finally let down their guard against him, he took the woman to the beach. When everyone found it, they only found the woman's wheelchair and nothing else. For a long time, Yi Chen stubbornly locked Shi Shang and didn't let anyone see him. Shi Shang used to think that it was normal for people to be mentally retarded in this world. How was it normal? It was just a late onset of illness. After being beaten up by Shi Shang a few times, Yi Chen felt very wronged, but he still didn't dare to lock Shi Shang. However, everyone knew that Madame Yi of the Delon group was never seen again. Shi Shang's health was not good in this life. Yi Chen stayed by her bedside with tears in his eyes. Shi Sheng reached out and touched his face. "Don't cry." "I'm not crying." Yi Chen held her hand and said stubbornly. Shi Sheng smiled and untied the watch on his wrist. "Don't you believe in past lives?" Yi Chen nodded. "I believe that we will be together in our next life." "Yes, we will. Wait for me." Shi Sheng held the watch tightly and waited for death to come. As a veteran player who had experienced death in different ways, this process was familiar. There was no fear or expectation. Yi Chen seemed to know something and stared at her quietly. The light in front of her slowly disappeared and Yi Chen's face became more and more blurred. Shi Sheng seemed to see the confusion in Yi Chen's eyes disperse and be filled with clarity. It was a gaze that could see through the whole world. However, Shi Sheng didn't have the chance to see it clearly. Her eyes were completely dark. Yi Chen saw that she stopped breathing and the light on his face slowly dimmed. He was like a plant that needed sunlight. When the sunlight disappeared, all the vitality in his body was taken away and only darkness was left. Yi Chen walked to the other side and lay down carefully. He hugged Shi Sheng and kissed her forehead out of habit. He slowly closed his eyes. "I only want to live for you." When the nurse came in, she saw the two of them lying on the hospital bed. They had stopped breathing but their fingers were intertwined. * The 36th world ended. Chapter 1246. When Shi Sheng returned to the system space, the first thing she did was to check the follow-up. This was her right as the host, so the system showed her the follow-up. On the screen, Yi Chen did not look like the person she saw. Was it an illusion? Shi Sheng looked at it several times, but Yi Chen was still normal. Host. Shi Sheng sat on the ground. Nothing. She started to fiddle with her watch. The system had not seen her fiddling with that watch for a long time. She took out her tablet and tapped on it a few times. The light in the system space suddenly dimmed. The system was shocked. "Host, what are you doing?" Shi Sheng did not answer and continued tapping on the screen. The system found that it could not see clearly. No, it was scanning her. Was this interference? After a while, the light in the system space returned to normal. Shi Sheng was already standing in front of the screen. "Your master has a habit of peeping. I have to be careful." "Master, hey. This host is so scary. Can you take her back?" Shi Sheng held the screen. I can't believe you took back the authority. But it's okay. It's full of viruses. Your master can't control you for the time being." No wonder my master didn't talk to me. She didn't seem to be worried at all. What's the point of fighting for authority like this? What's the point? What's the point? I don't want to participate in the battle between the big bosses. Please let me go. I'm still a baby. Shi Sheng did not speak and just stared at the screen. The system was afraid that Shi Sheng would do something, so it quickly refreshed the information. Anyway, she couldn't control herself now. It had to send this pervert away quickly. Name, Shi Sheng morality points, 390000 health points, 60 points, 81400 mission grade. Mission score, 83 hidden mission, completed hidden mission reward, 2000 points side mission, completed side mission reward, 2000 points item list, Queen's Crown, Ghost King's Heart, Dark Knight, Kirin Blood, Phoenix Tail Feather. Why didn't my morality points change? Are they stuck? The system was too tired to explain. Do you want to enter the next dimension? Transmission initiating. Shi Sheng. Damn, but face, you're awesome. The system space returned to its peaceful state. The system wanted to hug Ji and cry. How terrifying. The screen showing Shi Sheng's information suddenly flickered twice, and a blurry figure appeared on the screen. Master. The system immediately became excited. The host said there was a virus. Master, are you okay? I'm fine. The man sounded tired. She's collecting Feng Xi's data. Think of a way to take the watch from her. Ha. How was he going to take it? Would it dare to take its host's things? I still want to live for a few more years, Master. The owner of the system seemed to have thought of something and was silent for a while. It should be too late. She has backed up all the data. I will clear Feng Xi's memory again and try to buy as much time as possible. Master, why must you erase Feng Xi's memories? The system was very puzzled. This is already the third time. A person can only withstand such a large-scale memory wipe 5 times at most. Will he become stupid? He still can't retain his memories, so he will return to his own protective circle. The system master paused. If he becomes a retard, who knows how many people will set off fireworks to celebrate? Is Feng Xi that scary? Yes. The system shuddered. The host was already scary, but why was Feng Xi so scary as well? Master, have you investigated Mu Bai's matter? Don't worry about him. He can't do anything to her. Master, why do I hear a hint of contempt in your tone? The system still wanted to complain to its master, but when it looked at the screen, it was already a bunch of gibberish. He was deeply poisoned. Everyone knew that Unending had an extremely weak contractor. Asterisk bang. Before she could open her eyes, she heard a violent explosion. Her body was thrown high up in the air and quickly fell back down. Her limbs felt heavy, as if someone had hung 1,000 kilograms of boulders on them. Her limbs were indeed the same. Chains shining with a strange red light extended from the ground and wrapped around her, desperately trying to pull her towards the pentagram on the ground. Shishang's mind was screaming the word, danger. That pentagram didn't look like anything good. At least that was the case for her. Sword, save me. I'm going to die. The iron sword suddenly appeared and slashed towards the chains. Strangely, the iron sword actually hit empty air. Empty air? The iron sword buzzed and flew to Shishang's hand. Shishang grabbed the iron sword, turned his wrist and slashed at the chains beside him. This time, he didn't hit empty air. The chains were cut and turned into little red lights, like fluorescent lights, slowly disappearing. Shishang quickly removed the chains that bound him, and his body suddenly became light. She landed in the bushes next to the pentagram. The pentagram gave her a very bad feeling. Shishang took out an energy ball and tossed it over. The energy ball exploded, and the pentagram disappeared. The whole world fell into darkness. Shishang leaned against a tree and panted. Damn it, did I enter a magic world? No, although magic relied on the power of elements, it was still spiritual energy. But in this world, there was no spiritual energy. He couldn't feel any spiritual energy at all. Shishang looked at the clothes on his body. It was actually a school uniform. School. But her breasts seemed to be quite big. Bah, now was not the time to look at her breasts. Oh. Shishang staggered and fell to the ground. Her face was pale and she covered her chest. It hurt. Contract. This body actually had a contract. F*CKU. The contractor was going to die. Wei Shi, surrender. An angry voice sounded from above Shishang's head. She looked up and saw a boy in the same school uniform. He was holding an umbrella in his hand. The umbrella had the same pentagram drawn on it, and it was emitting a faint red light. The light made Shishang more and more uncomfortable. Shishang raised his hand and the iron sword swayed in front of the boy. He stepped back in surprise. Wei Shi, it's just a dying struggle. Let go now and I can spare your life. Shishang was in so much pain that she didn't want to speak. She stood up from the ground and waved the iron sword at the boy. The boy didn't take it seriously at first, but soon he was surprised by the power of the iron sword and started to fight back seriously. The pentagram on his umbrella constantly emitted a red light and gathered into strange characters one after another in the air. The characters surrounded the boy and seemed to protect him. When the iron sword slashed at it, it only managed to cut off some of the runes. However, very soon, new runes would overflow from the surface of the umbrella and fill in the gaps. Shishang narrowed her eyes. She turned her wrist and poked the umbrella in the boy's hand. The boy seemed to think that the umbrella would be fine and didn't avoid it in time. However, when the iron sword touched the umbrella, the pentagram on the umbrella suddenly lost its luster and the characters disappeared. The boy didn't have time to be surprised and his whole body flew out. Shi Shang staggered and her vitality was draining away. The contractor of this body was going to die. Don't ask me what plane this is. I don't know either. Anyway, it's a very strange plane. I know the title and the name. It's a very awesome book. You don't have to explain it to me. Well, it's just a story. Read and act cool. Everyone, vote. Chapter 1247. So angry. Butt face, what kind of trash body did you choose? I'm either going to die or I'm going to die. Can't you let me live a good life for once? Desperate counterattack mode is not a joke, host. Butt face was smug. If you don't hurry up, you'll complete the first time you've been defeated. Defeat is Mu Bai's job, I won't do it. I'm not going to die. Shi Shang walked to the place where the boy had fallen. The boy seemed to be seriously injured and looked at her with a pale face. Shi Shang raised her sword and slashed at him. The boy's last expression was one of horror and disbelief. Shi Shang was a bit melancholy after dealing with this enemy. Would it be faster to break the contract or to save someone? Host, I advise you not to mess with this contract. This is a blood contract. Although the definition of a blood contract is different in every world, the host should know that it is irreversible. A blood contract is irreversible. The word irreversible meant that it could not go against the flow, reverse, or reverse. It could not go against its master's orders. It could not turn against its master. It could not break the contract by force. In other words, she was the one who was contracted. F***ck. Shi Shang took a few deep breaths. I can't play in this world, I have to go back and change to another world. Didn't you say you're not going to die? You want to change worlds just because of a disagreement. Do you think you're a TV station? Shi Shang didn't have time to complain about the system. She stabbed herself without hesitation. The light in front of her began to dim. She was a bit dizzy, but she found that she hadn't returned to the system space. She was still in that place. But face, are you broken again? Host, you have a contract now. You won't die as long as your master is alive. Don't waste your energy. Shi Shang. So why didn't you remind I before? I wanted to see the host commit suicide but couldn't. From the system's calm electronic voice, one could hear the schadenfreude in its voice. Shi Shang gritted her teeth. Just you wait, I'll go offline first. Shi Shang took a deep breath and covered her bleeding abdomen. Fortunately, she didn't stab her heart. She could sense the location of the person who had formed a contract with her. Shi Shang lay on the iron sword and let it take him there. This should be a school campus. After bypassing the teaching building, they arrived at the field. The field was filled with all kinds of pentagrams of different colors. In the middle of those pentagram arrays, there was a particularly eye-catching black pentagram array. Everyone was attacking the black pentagram array, and they could vaguely see a figure inside. When Shi Shang arrived, he happened to see the figure being hit by the invisible light. He was brought up into the air by the light and smashed down into the slowly disappearing black pentagram. Shi Shang also felt the pain. It was as if it had been torn apart by something. Oh, I am going crazy. Shi Shang took a deep breath and sat on the iron sword. He rushed over and threw energy balls down as if they were free. Some people were struck by the explosion, and the light of the pentagram was directly annihilated by the lightning. Who is it? Ah, bang. Stop her, she's here to save Muyu. It's Wei Shi. Why isn't she dead yet? Stop her, we can't let her save Muyu. Stop your ass. I can't kill you, scum. Shi Shang rampaged and blasted a path to the place where the person had fallen. He picked up the person on the ground and put him on the sword. He rose into the air and threw a few more energy balls down. There seemed to be thunder in the sky. Shi Shang quickly stopped and let the iron sword run. If I don't run now, I'll be struck. If I'm struck like this, I'll definitely die. Shi Shang got rid of the lightning behind him and lay on the iron sword, looking at the person in front of him weakly. Is this the owner of this body? So weak. Shi Shang looked down. Good, it's still a modern city, and there are no strange buildings. She went straight to the edge of the city and found a safe place to land. She looked at the wounds on her body. Other than the one she had poked herself, there were several other places, and they were bleeding non-stop. There was a faint burning sensation. Shi Shang glanced at the person in front of him and estimated her danger level. In the end, he felt that it was safer to tie her up. After that, she started to treat her wounds and received the storyline. This was a very strange world. The background was still a modern society, and the development of technology was set in the 21st century. However, there were two special professions in their civilization: demons and purifiers. Demons were monsters born from all the dark emotions of humans. As long as humans had desires and dark sides, demons would not go extinct. Purifiers were born because of this. Purifiers were born. Those who could become purifiers would appear in the Purifying Demon Heavenly Book when they were born. The people of the Purifying Demon Alliance would find the purifier according to the address in the Heavenly Book and mark it. When the purifier was 12 years old, they would be sent to the Purifying Demon Academy to be taught. They had a very strange power in their bodies, and when they used it, a pentagram array would appear. It was similar to a magic world with spells, but it was different from magic. If a purifier wanted to become stronger, he had to keep killing demons. It was similar to a game. Purifiers were players, and demons were monsters. Killing monsters gave experience, and experience could be used to level up. The original owner was called Wei Shi. Unfortunately, she was a demon. Wei Shi was an SS-level demon. That's right, humans divided demons into levels. Newborn demons were all F-level, and the highest level was SS level, the highest level recorded by humans. As for whether there were higher levels, humans did not know. F to D were ordinary demons, C and B were high-level demons, and A was an elite demon. S-level demons were commander-type demons, and they could command A-level to F-level demons. SS-level demons were king demons. Wei Shi was a king demon. Demons leveled up by constantly sucking on the dark emotions of humans, such as hatred, jealousy, and greed. Therefore, for these dark emotions, demons would easily tempt humans. Wei Shi was an SS-level demon, and these human emotions could no longer help her level up. Then one day, she was suddenly summoned. According to the ancient civilization, some forbidden books wrote the way humans summoned demons. But the general way was to sell the soul and let the demon help you do something. The demon would benefit. But the blood contract, the human would benefit. Wei Shi had inexplicably made a blood contract with a human. She had resisted at the beginning, often causing both herself and the contractor to suffer. But after she found that the person who made a blood contract with her could make her stronger, she was not so resistant. She also promised the contractor that she could help him, but he had to give up his soul, or she would die with the other party. She was a king demon. She couldn't break the blood contract, but she could do it. The contractor promised her. But Wei Shi didn't expect that she would die because of this. ## today's ticket for Golden Rim Roué Fragrance ## end of the month, monthly ticket. It was like a glass bead embedded in one's eye sockets. It only looked good, but there was no spiritual energy. His gaze shifted slightly upwards. His silver hair was stained with blood and had already coagulated, sticking tightly to the sides of his face. His face was very delicate, a little too delicate, like a porcelain doll. Her face was abnormally pale, but her lips were as red as blood. It was indescribably strange. When she was receiving the plot, she was almost in an unconscious state, so there was no way she could sense him approaching. But what the F***? Where was I's sword? The iron sword stood on top of Shi Shang's head and was slowly spinning. Shi Shang glared at it. Why didn't it slash people? Buzz. Master didn't mean to hurt you. Most importantly, if I slashed him, he would die, and you would die too. Shi Shang immediately pushed the porcelain doll away and stood up, trembling. The porcelain doll fell directly to the ground after being pushed by her. His silver hair hung down, completely covering his face. Shi Shang had just stood up, but before she could stabilize her body, she sat back down. She was still injured and was in so much pain that she didn't want to move at all. The porcelain doll lay on the ground, staring straight at her with his blue eyes. His gaze was a little strange. There was no despair or struggle. It seemed to be covered with a layer of lifeless fog. When a person didn't even feel despair, that was true despair. The porcelain doll's lips moved. His blood-red lips were stained with blood. When he opened his mouth, blood spilled out, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. Shi Shang covered her wound and stared at him. After a long time, Shi Shang asked, "Are you waiting for death?" Master's injuries weren't good, so the injuries reflected on her body wouldn't be healed either. The porcelain doll didn't make a sound and continued to stare at her with his blue eyes. Shi Shang thought for a while. This master had never spoken before. Everyone in the family said that he was mute and couldn't speak. But Wei Shi knew that he could speak. He could also speak to Wei Shi. He was a porcelain doll who endured humiliation. Ba, the male protagonist's setting. He only appeared noble when he didn't speak. Shi Shang pulled the iron sword down and motioned to the porcelain doll. "Go up." The porcelain doll's eyelashes trembled, and he vomited even more blood. It dripped down his chin and onto his clothes, dyeing them dark red. It was a shocking sight. Shi Shang, F***CK, don't die. I don't want to die now. Even if you die, I still want to die, okay? The porcelain doll's eyes suddenly closed. His body softly fell to the ground and there was no more movement. Shi Shang, dead? No, he wasn't dead yet. This meant that he could still be saved. The original owner was supposed to be a demon cleanser, but he summoned a demon. This kind of person was considered a traitor to humanity. How could he be saved? Give me a scientific explanation. But face, if you don't come out to explain, I will kill him. The host kept threatening the system. His injuries are very serious. He needs a special medicine. Give it to me. The system store doesn't sell this kind of medicine. Shi Shang exploded. Bullshit, don't you claim that the system store has everything? I really don't have this. Shi Shang looked at the porcelain doll and pulled the iron sword up. Damn, he killed it quickly. Wait, host, I'll tell you where to get the medicine. No. Shi Shang stabbed down with the sword. However, before he could touch the porcelain doll, he was sent flying. Shi Shang sat on the ground and stared at the unmoving porcelain doll in the distance. After a while, F***CK, she had a blood contract with the porcelain doll. She couldn't attack the owner. This was the contract's rule. There was no way to play in this damned world. Host, calm down. It's just a medicine. It's easy for you. Easy. Go. I don't want to play. I can't kill him, right? Then I'll wait for him to die. Let me sort it out for you. Shi Shang's body was undying. The owner of Undying was Mu Yu. Mu Yu was the original male protagonist in the book. Mu Yi was originally a supporting character. However, he was transmigrated. Hence, the background of the novel was Mu Yi as the male protagonist and Mu Yu as the supporting character. It was a novel about a transmigrated supporting character's counterattack. Those who have read it should understand it. Those who don't, just pretend to understand it. He would continue to act pretentious. Chapter 1249. A gentle breeze blew from afar, carrying the smell of blood with it. The sky began to brighten, and the first rays of the morning sun slowly crossed the horizon, illuminating the world. After some time, the person on the ground moved. The sunlight was so bright that he couldn't open his eyes. It took him a while to get used to it. He opened his eyes slightly, and the blood-stained grass swayed in front of him, brushing past the tip of his nose. It was extremely ticklish. Mu Yu's entire body was in pain. It felt like countless knives were sawing at his body, trying to cut him into pieces. He supported himself on the ground and slowly sat up. "You're not dead yet." A slightly regretful voice suddenly sounded in his ear. He looked up, and his azure-blue eyes reflected the girl opposite him. The school uniform outlined her curves. The school skirt was a little short, revealing her fair and slender legs. She tilted her head slightly, and her red hair fell in front of her chest, blocking the view that the school uniform couldn't. Her eyes, which seemed to be stained with blood, were calmly staring at him. She had lost her usual aura, but she was more indifferent. Nothing in the world could enter her eyes. Unending. This wasn't unending. Even if that face was exactly the same as he remembered. Shang watched the porcelain doll get up from the ground, his azure-blue eyes still unmoved. His Adam's apple bobbed twice, and a clear voice came from his lips. "Who are you?" It was a very pleasant voice, but he didn't know why he didn't speak. Shang's mouth twitched, and his voice spread with the wind. "Your contractor." The porcelain doll was probably checking the contract, and his pale face wrinkled. There was no problem with the contract. She was still unending. But why did she give him a completely different feeling? Cough, cough. The porcelain doll suddenly coughed, and blood flowed out of his mouth uncontrollably. He coughed with great difficulty, as if he was going to cough out his organs. Shang looked on coldly, and felt waves of pain that didn't belong to her. After a while, she cursed, F***ck. She waited for him to lie down for an entire night, but he didn't die, and now he was torturing her. Even the original male lead had the aura of a male lead. What a scam. The porcelain doll coughed for a while before he stopped. Perhaps he had used up all his energy, for he fell back and looked at Shang with his head tilted. His eyes did not move, and he did not make a sound. If not for the fact that he was still breathing, Shang would have suspected that he was dead. Shang sat for a while, then stood up and walked towards the porcelain doll. She walked unsteadily, as if a gust of wind would blow her over. When she finally reached the porcelain doll, she looked down at him. "Why don't you commit suicide?" The porcelain doll's eyes moved and her voice was so soft that it was almost inaudible. "You are not Wei Shi." "I'm not." Shang did not deny it. "But this body is still alive, so are you going to commit suicide?" The porcelain doll was not surprised. He did not say anything else, nor did he have any intention of committing suicide. Shang, only talking to Wei Shi? It seemed that among so many people, only Wei Shi had heard him speak. Shang looked up at the sky with melancholy. How could they let him commit suicide? He had already given up all hope, so why didn't he commit suicide? Shang stood there for a while. The porcelain doll stared at her without blinking, as if he could not feel any pain. She was a contractor, so the pain she felt was only a third of the master's. If she felt pain, one could imagine how much pain the porcelain doll was going through. It was so painful. Flips table why did she have to suffer with him? Shang was so angry that she cursed for a long time. Then, she pulled the iron sword over and placed the porcelain doll on the iron sword. The porcelain doll remained silent from the beginning to the end. He was the perfect example of a male protagonist who cherished his words as if they were gold. If this was not a contract, I would have chopped him into a few hundred pieces. The porcelain doll lived in a remote alley in the city. There was a name for the alley, Paradise Street. It was not because it was a paradise, but because it was a paradise for all kinds of people. Ever since the porcelain doll knew that he had a contract with a demon, he did not dare to live in the Mu family. He left the Mu family and moved to this place. There were not only humans here, but also demons. After the demons hid the color of their hair and pupils, they looked no different from normal people. Normal people could not tell if the people around them were demons or not. The house rented by the porcelain doll was not big. It only had one bedroom and one living room. Shi Shang threw the porcelain doll on the bed and turned to leave. She had only taken 2 steps when she suddenly could not move. Shi Shang turned to look at the person on the bed. Her voice was cold. "Let go." "To hell with the blood contract." The porcelain doll kept his head turned and asked, "Who are you?" Shi Shang gritted his teeth. "I'm your ancestor." Something seemed to shrink in the air, imprisoning her in an invisible and narrow space. Shi Shang summoned the iron sword. The iron sword slashed at the bed. The bed was cut in half and the porcelain doll fell under the bed. Shi Shang was free. He went forward and picked the doll up. "If you dare to use the power of the contract on me again, I will kill you." The porcelain doll was fearless and stated the truth. "You can't kill me." "I can't kill you, but I can let someone else kill you." Yes, he could let someone else kill him. Host, Feng Ci. Shi Shang. "No, I'll see you next time." Host, "You're scaring me." Master, "Come quickly." Host hasn't taken any medicine. Shi Shang threw him away. The porcelain doll fell on the broken bed and coughed again. Shi Shang turned and went out. He caught someone disguised as a demon and pointed at the coughing porcelain doll. "Kill him." This demon was a Class D demon. Wei Shi was a king demon. Even if he was injured, his aura would still scare normal demons. Many demons on Paradise Street knew that there was a high-level demon living here. However, this demon usually did not appear, so they did not want to court death. They did not know what level she was, but the Class D demons who had been in close contact with her knew what level she was. This Class D demon did not know that he was so unlucky. He was caught as soon as he stepped out. And such a high-level one. Help! The D-Class demon trembled as he looked at the porcelain doll on the bed. His face instantly turned pale. "King, isn't this your contractor?" He remembered that he had heard her call him master in a sarcastic tone. "You will die if I kill you. Don't want such a trash contractor. Hurry up and kill him." The Class D demon trembled even more. Was the king testing him? It must be so. Why would the king seek his own death? Therefore, the Class D demon bent his legs and knelt in front of Shi Shang to express his sincerity. "King, I am absolutely loyal to you. I will never betray you." Shi Shang. What kind of development was this? I only asked you to kill someone. Who asked you to express your sincerity? Okay, kill him first. Then express your sincerity. The Class D demon. Asking for the psychological trauma of the porcelain doll, ha ha ha. Asking for a vote every day. Yes, that's it. Chapter 1250. The Class D demon didn't dare to move. He knelt on the ground, trembling. Shi Shang felt unwell all over. This world is poisonous. The porcelain doll had crawled out from under the collapsed bed. If the scene was different, it would definitely be the male version of Here Comes Sadako. Shi Shang glanced at him. The porcelain doll lay on the ground, motionless. Host, accept your fate. Do I have any enemies? Shi Shang ignored the system and asked the Class D demon. The Class D demon didn't know. He could only shake his head, trembling. How would a low-level demon like them know about this? They didn't even know her name, Shi Shang. He couldn't let her die in Mu Ye's hands, right? What a joke. He was determined not to die in the hands of the male protagonist. The system said it was easy to get the medicine, but it didn't tell her that it was in the Mu family. Shi Shang gritted his teeth. You want me to die? Host, don't you want to die? Good. That was what the system said. I don't want to die now. Capricious host, let me calm down. Shi Shang wondered if she could get the medicine back from the Mu family with her current combat ability. After she had a few safe routes in mind, she began to barge into the Mu family's residence. What happened to the safe routes? You came here by force. What's the use of thinking about safe routes? What's the use? Shi Shang rushed to the place where the medicine was kept. After finding the medicine mentioned by the system, she immediately asked Iron Sword to take her out of the Mu family. The Mu family didn't even see who it was. Shi Shang took the medicine back. The Class D demon had already cleaned up the house. The porcelain doll was moved to the sofa in the living room. Shi Shang glanced at the Class D demon. The Class D demon stood by the door, not daring to breathe. Shi Shang roughly fed him the medicine and ordered the Class D demon, "Take care of him." "King, don't worry." The Class D demon hurriedly responded. Shi Shang entered the bedroom where the porcelain doll was and slammed the door. Her body swayed and she fell down. She hurriedly started to heal her injuries according to her memory. 3 days later, Shi Shang woke up. His body was no longer in pain, and he felt relaxed. She tried to use the power of the demon, and a black hexagram array appeared under her feet. A strange power rushed out from the hexagram array and attacked the things in the house with her hand gestures. By the time she stopped, the whole house was in a mess, as if a gust of wind had swept through. Shi Shang stared at the 6-pointed star array under her feet and frowned slightly. She remembered that the people she had seen before had used the 5-pointed star array. There was nothing useful in the original owner's memories regarding this. It seemed like she was born with a hexagram array. Perhaps this was the reason why she could become a king demon. Whatever, it was fine as long as he was awesome. Shi Shang withdrew the 6-pointed star array and opened the door. In the living room, the porcelain doll sat at the table eating breakfast. He was still wearing the clothes from before, and the bloodstains were very obvious, but his expression was so normal that it was as if the person who was about to die a few days ago was not him. The D-rank demon had disappeared without a trace. The porcelain doll looked up at the Shi Shang and continued to eat her breakfast. Shi Shang walked up to him and asked, "Where's mine?" The porcelain doll swallowed the last mouthful of food. Demons don't need human food. Shi Shang: Yes, demons did not eat human food. They were usually not hungry. Demons at her level would not be hungry either. The porcelain doll put the dishes on the table into the kitchen and came out of the bedroom after a while. Seeing the mess in the bedroom, he stood at the door for a while and went in to find his clothes from the pile of debris. Shi Shang looked at him with her chin propped up. He knew that she was not immortal, and other than that one time when he attacked her, there was no emotion on his face at all. This person, did he not care? Or was he preparing for a big move? The porcelain doll took the clean clothes into the bathroom, and soon there was the sound of running water. When the porcelain doll came out, he had changed into a clean school uniform, and his blue eyes had turned black. Only his silver hair had not changed. He was very exquisite, like a prince born in a palace, and he was very distant and noble. However, when you looked into his eyes, you would feel like you were in a horror movie. Oppressive, gloomy. He threw the dirty clothes into the washing machine, pressed the start button, and stared at the washing machine for a while. "Thank you." Shi Shang propped up his chin and smiled slightly. "Why don't you kill yourself to thank me?" The porcelain doll turned around, and his silver hair drew a beautiful arc in the air with his movements. "There are many ways to break the contract. You don't have to kill me. Then you should break it." "I don't know how." Shi Shang. What? As a demon cleanser, he did not even know how to break a blood contract? What a joke. This must be a fake male lead. "I'll teach you. I know how to break the contract." The porcelain doll looked at her, and his black eyes were no longer lifeless. Instead, there was a strange light in them. "I don't know how to break the contract." Shi Shang immediately understood what he meant. It was not that he did not know how to break the contract, but that he did not know how to break the contract. Thank goodness for the profoundness of Chinese. Shi Shang gritted his teeth. "If you don't understand, I'll kill you." The porcelain doll ignored Shi Shang's threat. "I'm going to school." Shi Shang. What was wrong with this brat? Mu Yi had brought people to encircle him, but he still dared to go to school. Shi Shang watched the porcelain doll leave. She sat for a while and rummaged through the room. She found a school uniform, which should be the original owner's. She changed into the school uniform and went to school according to her memory. On the way, Shi Shang found a hairdresser and dyed her flamboyant red hair black. Tamed demons and demons had the same hair color and pupils. They were all different colors, so it wasn't easy to distinguish between demons and demonic demons. Everyone in school thought that Wei Shi was the porcelain doll's familiar. Her pupils returned to black after her injury was healed. Demons and familiars were the same. Their pupils would only return to their original color when they used their abilities. After Shi Shang finished dyeing her hair, she slowly went to school. Demon cleanser was a public profession in this world, so the demon cleanser school was also very famous. Those who could study in this school were all demon cleansers. The school hours were not fixed for each class, so it was not like other schools where there was not even a shadow of a bird at the gate when class started. Wei Shi, why did your hair turn black? A boy with blue hair walked past Shi Shang. This person was a familiar and seemed to like the original owner. His master was from a side branch of a big family. He did not have much of a presence in school and was equivalent to a passerby. Shi Shang. He felt that he had entered a strange anime. The man was very handsome. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Shi Shang curiously. Wei Shi, what's wrong? Shi Shang looked away and pointed his chin to the other side. Your master was bullied. The blue-haired boy looked over and his expression changed. He immediately rushed over. In a moment, there was the sound of fighting. This kind of thing was often seen in school. As long as no one died, the school allowed this kind of fighting. Chapter 1251. Shi Shang entered the school and looked around. There seemed to be quite a few people who knew the original owner, and these people probably didn't know about the fight that day. After all, they were just looking at her and didn't look like they had seen a demon. The school was very big. Shi Shang walked and walked until she reached the sports field that she had blown up that day. The whole field was full of holes, and there were still thunder and lightning inside. There were cordons all around, and people wearing protective clothing were measuring something at the edge of the field. Shi Shang walked towards the crowd, and the discussion gradually became clearer. How do you think this was done? There is still thunder and lightning in the holes, and it hasn't dissipated after 3 days. I don't know if it has anything to do with the demon. Is there still no news from the student union? Can't you see that those people are still measuring? It means that they don't know what it is. Student union blah blah blah. The discussion didn't have any practical use, and it was all guesswork. Shi Shang stood for a while and left the sports field. There was a tree-lined path next to the sports field, and Shi Shang walked along it. Hair of different colors swayed in front of her, and her eyes were almost like a colorful Mary Sue. A person could only summon one familiar at a time, and after it was summoned, it could only live with its master. This group of people were still students, and they needed to cultivate tacit understanding with future battle partners, so the school allowed them to go to school. Young Master Mu Yu came to school, and he still dared to come. He's really brave. Where is he? He went back to the dormitory. Young Master Mu, why don't we tell the school about this? If the school knows that he contracted a demon, they will definitely hand him over to the Mu family to be executed. What do you know? Let's go and see. Shi Shang watched a few people in front of him leave with a boy. That was the male lead of this world, Mu Yi. The people around him were all his underlings. Mu Ye's setting was very high, and he was the most powerful purifier of the Mu family's younger generation. He was also favored, and his status in the Mu family was much higher than Mu Yu, who was a proper but not favored young master. After he stole Mu Yu's contracted familiar, his strength increased, and he was even more favored in the Mu family. Shi Shang stood still and watched the group of people disappear at the end of the tree-lined path. Actually, from Shi Shang's point of view, Mu Yi had done nothing wrong. After all, he was the one who had turned the tables. However, she was now on Wei Shi's side. No matter whether Mu Yi was in the wrong or not, he was still her enemy. As a qualified player, one had to know that one had to understand one's mission and goal. Since Mu Yi was looking for trouble with the porcelain doll, Shi Shang thought about it and decided to follow him. That trash master was killed by Mu Yi. Where would she put her face as an old player? In the dormitory. The school was rich and overbearing. Regardless of whether the students lived on campus or not, there would always be a bed. Porcelain Doll's dormitory was on the 3rd floor. Just as Shi Shang stepped onto the 2nd floor, he heard the commotion on the 3rd floor. Someone was calling Porcelain Doll's name, and all sorts of mocking voices were ear-piercing. Shi Shang couldn't see what was going on because the staircase was blocked. He could only ask the people in front of him to make way. Please make way. Who the F***ck are you? The person in front turned his head. Before he could curse, he immediately swallowed his words and stood to the side without a word. He even pulled the person in front of him. She was quite famous in the school and was quite powerful. Ever since Porcelain Doll had contracted her, there were fewer people who dared to find trouble with her when she was around. Why is her hair black? I don't know. She's coming over. Shi Shang walked into the battle under the gaze of a group of people. Mu Yi and his lackeys were standing a little further away, but they were obviously watching the show. They weren't the ones who were going to make a move. Mu Yi glanced at the person coming over from the crowd and a trace of amazement flashed through his eyes. In the past, she was beautiful, sexy, and charming. A casual glance from her could make people fall head over heels for her. But now, she was still beautiful, arrogantly beautiful and noble. All of her sexy and charming aura had been restrained by her. She had the aura of a king, looking down on the world, making people not dare to blaspheme her. Mu Yi waited until Shi Shang came closer before he quickly restrained his amazement. His body tensed up involuntarily, and he was slightly on guard. Shi Shang's gaze swept past his face and landed on the door of a dormitory that they were surrounding. Porcelain Doll stood by the door and looked down at the floor. The floor was a mess, and a boy was constantly throwing things out from inside. The people in the dormitory probably saw Shi Shang and stopped throwing things. Just like that, the scene strangely froze. Everyone thought that Shi Shang was going to seek justice for Porcelain Doll, but who knew that she was just watching without any intention of making a move. Her expression didn't even change. The scene became even more strange. Shi Shang waited for a long time, but this group of people seemed to have been hit with the pause button. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and ask, "Why aren't you continuing?" The things in the hands of the boy in the dormitory fell to the ground with a bang. The sound reverberated through the room and seemed to make everyone's hearts drop. It's him. He started it first. The boy explained in a panic. Porcelain Doll raised her head and looked at the boy. There seemed to be a flash of mockery in her pitch-black eyes, but it was so fast that no one could catch it. Shi Shang indicated that he understood. He started it. Hit him back. The boy. What was going on? The scene became awkward again. The boy glanced at Mu Yi and suddenly rushed out of the door and hid in the crowd. Shi, don't think that you can bully others just because you're powerful. If you start a fight in school again, the school will kick you out. The school was very tolerant of humans, but not so tolerant of familiars. If a familiar attacked 3 times, they would not be able to summon the dragon god and would only be kicked out of school. Shi had already been penalized twice. If she was penalized again, she would be kicked out of school. Shi Shang sneered. I'm bullying others? Who's backing me up? The boy choked. Mu Yi was the one who was bullied in school. Indeed, he didn't have any backing. Shi. Mu Yi took 2 steps forward. The young man was tall and handsome, and there was a hint of madness between his brows. Mu Yi, I have something to say. Why don't we go somewhere else? What's there to say? Shi Shang rolled his eyes. I'm not going. Only an idiot would go if the male lead asked. Porcelain Doll had already lowered her head and didn't say anything. In the past, when Porcelain Doll didn't speak, Shi would speak on her behalf. Now that Shi Shang was putting on airs, no one could understand what porcelain doll meant. Awkward scene X1. Mu Ye's expression changed. He stared at Shi Shang. It's about Zheng Wei. Shi Shang didn't even bat an eyelid. I don't know him. What Zheng Wei, Zhang Wei, Zhao Wei? Do I know him? Mu Ye gave a look to the people beside him, and the underlings immediately dispersed the crowd. After the crowd dispersed, Mu Ye lowered his voice. Wei Shi, do you want to expose your identity? Shi Shang looked at Mu Ye with a faint smile, his calm eyes reflecting his face. You help me hide my identity. What do you want from me? Why didn't Mu Ye reveal her identity as a demon? There must be a conspiracy. There's always an idiot who wants to harm me. I'm scared. There's always cherub. How can I break it if I don't vote? I'll just beat them up. Chapter 1252. Mu Ye didn't answer the question. He glanced at the porcelain doll. I'll give you 1 day to think it over. Shi Shang shrugged, looking indifferent. Just say it if you want to. I'm not afraid. Mu Ye narrowed his eyes. Can you fight against the school with your current strength? Wei Shi, don't try to show off. Shi Shang laughed arrogantly. I can fight against the whole world, let alone a school. A school is nothing. How can a big shot like me, who can destroy the world, no, save the world, be troubled by a school? Shi Shang's eyes turned. Why don't I beat the male lead up first? That's a good idea. Before Mu Ye could say what he wanted to say, a strong wind came from the front. Mu Ye was shocked and quickly dodged. A cold light fell from his side. Before he could see clearly what it was, the cold light came from the side and slashed horizontally. The air was filled with the sound of killing. A pentagram suddenly appeared under Mu Ye's feet. His body was covered by the light of the pentagram and the iron sword missed. This thing might not be on the same level as the iron sword. It was not as easy to cut through it. But it wasn't impossible to cut through. Shi Shang held the iron sword and slashed through the pentagram under Mu Ye's feet. The iron sword aura whistled through the narrow passageway. The wind seemed to be filled with countless sharp blades, leaving slashes on the wall. Mu Ye was shocked. How did she have such power? The white dust on the wall was blown up by the wind. The entire passageway was gray and no one could see clearly what was going on inside. Crash. Bang. Below the dormitory, there was the sound of glass shattering. Then, a figure was thrown out and fell to the ground. The people below were stunned. They looked at the person who fell in the broken glass, dumbfounded. Mu Ye's skin felt like it had been cut by knives. He clutched his chest and looked in the direction of the 3rd floor in shock. Shi Shang leaned against the windowsill and smiled faintly. If I want to deal with you, I can do it in a matter of minutes. Mu Ye, behave yourself. Who knows, I might let you live for a few more days. If it wasn't for your aura, I would have killed you right now, you little bitch. Everyone, Holy-T. Holy-T. How arrogant. This was young Master Mu. How dare he talk to young Master Mu like that? Did he have a death wish? At this moment, Mu Ye's mind was filled with disbelief. How could she still be so powerful when Mu Ye was injured? Shi Shang's figure disappeared from the window on the 3rd floor. A group of people wearing student union badges quickly ran out from a building and surrounded Mu Ye. Young Master Mu, I heard that it was a familiar that attacked you? Mu Ye was helped up by his younger brother. Before Mu Ye could speak, his younger brother angrily said, It's Wei Shi. The student union member frowned. Young Master Mu, go to the infirmary first. We'll take care of things here. Mu Ye glanced in the direction of the 3rd floor and said calmly, Let's go. The student union member went up to the 3rd floor and saw the strange cut marks on the wall. They looked at each other and carefully walked forward. When they arrived at Mu Ye's dormitory, the door was open, but Mu Ye was alone inside. He was tidying up his bed. His silver hair hung down and blocked his vision. He didn't seem to notice their arrival. "Muyu," the student union member called out. It was hard to tell whether the expression on his face was disgusted or disgusted. Muyu didn't stop and continued to fold the quilt. The student union member was used to Muyu's way of dealing with people. He directly asked, "Muyu, where's your familiar?" Muyu stretched out his hand and pointed outside. "Left." "Muyu, your familiar has already hit people 3 times. Come with us to the student union to take care of it." Muyu's hand paused. He raised his head slightly and his silver hair scattered, revealing his delicate eyes. Although he was a monster, they had to admit that he was really good-looking. Even Mu Yi couldn't compare to him. Muyu put down the things in his hand and walked towards them. He pointed outside. The student union member thought that he wanted to go with them and left the dormitory. Who knew that the dormitory door would be closed the moment they left? Student union. Muyu. A student union member kicked the door. "Open the door. Who do you think you are? You've been hitting people 3 times. As the owner, you have to take responsibility. Do you think that you can still stay in school after hitting young Master Mu? Even if you're from the Mu family, you won't have a good time. Muyu, open the door. Don't F*King pretend to be dead. Muyu, you're a monster. Just looking at you disgusts me. Open the door for me. If you don't open it, we'll knock the door down." The student union member slammed the door loudly. Muyu stared at the door. His face was expressionless, but blue light flashed in his eyes from time to time. It was as if he wanted to swallow the darkness and see the light again. Monster. Just because he had a head of silver hair, they gave him such a title. The Mu family's monster. Cough, cough. Muyu suddenly covered his chest and coughed. His face was as pale as paper. Sheng walked and walked. His body suddenly staggered and his face quickly scrunched up. She covered her chest and opened her mouth to let air into her lungs. What was that trashy owner doing? Waves of dizziness hit her. Sheng felt that she could faint at any time. Sheng bit the tip of her tongue. The pain made her dizziness subside. After a while, she felt better. F***ck. What a trashy setting. Sheng cursed for a while and walked back angrily. The downstairs of the dormitory had been cleaned up and the onlookers had dispersed. If it weren't for the fact that the glass windows on the 3rd floor were not replaced, it would have been as if nothing had happened. Sheng went upstairs but couldn't find Muyu. The door of his dormitory had been forcibly torn down. The room was in a mess and the smell of blood was in the air. Sheng kicked the debris on the floor and saw bloodstains on the floor. There were also traces of dragging on the floor. The bloodstains extended all the way to the door. Sheng. She walked out of the dormitory and dragged someone along the corridor. "Where's the porcelain doll?" The person screamed when he saw Sheng's face. Sheng was very unhappy. He grabbed the person's collar and said fiercely, "Stop screaming. I asked you a question. Answer me." The person trembled. You, who are you asking?" "The porcelain doll." The person was dumbfounded. Who was the porcelain doll? Muyu. He was taken away by the student union. Sheng threw him away and strode down the stairs. The person was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He supported himself against the wall and barely managed to stand. He was scared to death. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, his vision darkened again. The scary voice sounded above him again. "Where's the student union? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy. The weather is unpredictable. You have to take care of yourselves. Don't catch a cold. Cherub. Okay. Little fairy. I'm so concerned about you. Aren't you going to express your concern? Cherub. Do we have to express our concern? Is this concern? Little fairy. Love is mutual. How can I do it alone? Cherub. Aren't you just asking for tickets? No way. Little fairy. My love is over. Goodbye. Cherub. Waving hand, system notification. Your dear little fairy has gone offline. You can summon her now, 06666. Chapter 1253. The student union was on the top floor of a school building. Shi Shang looked up at the 3 words hanging at the top of the building and pursed his lips. It was okay if they killed Mu Yu, but if they didn't kill him, it was wrong of them to keep torturing him. Damn it, don't you know I'll feel terrible too? Host, if you don't save him now, you might die. Shi Shang. Dog 2, can you not do it? If you don't do it, I won't do it. The system replied with a straight face. Shi Shang put his hands on his hips. Dog 2, tell me clearly, when did I do it? Now. Shi Shang. Good job, Dog 2, you'll remember this. Scary, why do you want me to remember it? Can't you remember it yourself? Why should I keep a record of it? The system felt it was safer to go offline now. Shi Shang despised Dog 2 for a few seconds, then looked up at the 3 words hanging at the top of the building again. The students passing by pointed at Shi Shang and discussed the flashy story of her beating Mu Yi. She took out the iron sword and commanded it, "Go and knock down that sign for me." Iron sword. Master, can't you let me do something lofty? Are you going or not? You're talking more and more nonsense. Buzz. Go. After all, it was a sword that had chopped houses, smashed eggs, and dug soil. It was used to knocking down a sign. The iron sword flew into the air and directly pried down the 3 words inlaid on the wall. The 3 words hit the ground with a very ear-piercing sound. Many people opened the windows and looked down. Seeing the student union sign fall, they all had a strange look on their faces. The students who had witnessed the whole process had already stood far away. Was this Wei Shi crazy? She dared to provoke the student union. Hey, did you see the sword in her hand just now? She can use it even without a star map. Humans called the pentagram star map. No matter if it was a person, a weapon, or a demon, a star map would appear when they used it. Seems like it. The people next to him finally reacted. What kind of weapon is that? To think that it could be used without a star map. He had never heard of such a weapon. Have any of you heard of it? Everyone shook their heads. They had never heard of a weapon that did not have a star atlas when it was used. The iron sword flew back and floated in front of Shi Shang. Shi Shang reached out and held the sword. The tip of the sword was pressed against the ground as support. He waited for the people from the student union to come down and meet him like a boss. About half a minute later, the first person wearing a student union badge appeared at the entrance of the building, followed by a second, a third. They quickly surrounded the Shi Shang. Wei Shi, you still dare to provoke us? Shi Shang tilted his head and smiled evilly. Provoke? If you think that saying this will make you feel better, then consider it a provocation. I was clearly here to cause trouble. The faces of the members of the student union changed collectively. A tall boy stood out with a face full of anger. Wei Shi, you've hurt people 3 times. Come with us to receive your punishment. The arrogance in Shi Shang's eyes seemed to overflow. Do you think you can punish me? In this world, no one has the right to punish me. Everyone was speechless. Why did she say such a childish line so arrogantly? She was quite serious. The tall boy scolded. This is the rule. You have to abide by the rules in school. In response to the tall boy's scolding, Shi Shang sneered. Rules are set by people. Rules are dead, but people are alive. Why don't we change the rules? Everyone was speechless. Was he trying to rebel? The girl next to the tall boy snorted. Don't talk nonsense. Capture her. Let's see how she's going to argue this time. The girl's status in the student union was not low. When she spoke, a colorful star atlas appeared under the feet of the others. It was very beautiful. Of course, that was if they were not so murderous. Devil cleansers and demons were natural enemies. Even if Shi Shang was not afraid of devil cleansers, His body instinctively did not like those powers. His body kept screaming to destroy them. Shi Shang held the iron sword tightly. Before the first person made a move, he made a move first. In a fight, whoever took the initiative had a higher chance of winning. Not everyone who was at a disadvantage had the strength and luck to turn the tables. Therefore, it was definitely not wrong to make the first move. Shi Shang held the iron sword and broke up the group. She realized that these people were much weaker than Mu Yi. They needed to chant incantations to use their skills, but Mu Yi could do it almost instantly. She could make Mu Yi into such a state. How could she not handle this group of people? The members of the student union were constantly sent flying by Shi Shang. They fell to the ground and wailed. Use the square lock to trap her. The girl shouted from outside. Everyone listened to the girl's command. Chains quickly shot out from the pentagram array under their feet. The chains flew into the air and intertwined with the chains of the others. Shi Shang looked up at the chains that surrounded her in a semicircle. The color of the sky became fainter and fainter. The colorful chains kept moving. Teske. Shi Shang uttered a single syllable. Everyone looked at the semicircle wrapped by the chains and whispered to the people around them, "Is she trapped? She should be trapped, right? She's just a familiar. That monster isn't by her side. She shouldn't be that strong. But she injured so many members of the student union just now." The square lock is the student union's ultimate move. How could it not? F***ck. That person's tone changed as if he had seen something unbelievable. Everyone immediately looked over. They saw that the chains there had turned into sparkling spots of light and dissipated into the air. Time seemed to have been grabbed by a hand, and everything seemed to have slowed down. In the next second, time returned to normal. A wave of air spread from there, sending the members of the student union flying. It swept through the surrounding trees. The leaves were suddenly swept into the air by a gust of wind. They exploded in the air like fireworks and fell with a crash. Everything happened too quickly. Before anyone could see clearly, their eyes were blocked by the falling leaves. The leaves were flying. The girl held the iron sword and smiled brightly. However, that smile did not reach her eyes. It only gave people a sense of eeriness. "Do you still want to fight?" The tall boy and the girl were also sent flying. At this time, they struggled to get up from the ground and stared at her in horror. Wei Shi Yu. How did she become so strong? How was this possible? A familiar could only use its full strength when it was by its master's side. However, Mu Yu was not around at all. How did she do it? Shi Shang looked at the shocked tall boy and said calmly, "If you don't want to fight, hand over Mu Yu." The tall boy quietly put his hand into his trouser pocket and sent a signal to the school for backup. He answered Shi Shang and stalled for time. Mu Yu tried to attack a member of the student union. She needs to be confined. When the time is up, she will go back. Chapter 1254. As soon as the tall boy finished speaking, the person opposite him began to wave his sword. The leaves in the air swept towards them as the sword moved, completely blocking their line of sight. Shi Shang scoffed coldly, bypassed them, and went upstairs. Relying on the special relationship of the contract, Shi Shang found Guan Mu Yu's room. The room was very dark. Shi Shang smelled the strong smell of blood as soon as she entered. She reached out and pressed the light beside her. The room immediately lit up. There was no bloody scene in the room, not even a person. There was no cover in the room and she could see everything in one glance. She felt that he was here just now. How did he disappear now? Shi Shang sensed again and realized that the porcelain doll was actually at home. Shi Shang. She walked into the room and looked around before finally landing on the ground. There was a circle of marks there that was slowly disappearing. That was blood. The people from the student union gathered the school teachers and they were now gathered below. However, when they went up, they realized that there was no one there. Mu Yu and Wei Shi were gone. Where is she? I didn't see her come down. How did she leave with Mu Yu? Teacher, Wei Shi and Mu Yu are messing around in school. Wei Shi even beat up Mu Yi. Should we inform the Mu family? The teachers standing in front listened to the report from the student union and frowned. After a while they said, "Inform the Mu family." Yes. Shi Shang returned to Paradise Street. When she opened the door, she saw the porcelain doll lying on the ground. There was a hideous wound on his wrist and it was bleeding. There was already a small pool of blood on the ground. Shi Shang approached him. The person on the ground suddenly raised his head. His eyes were blue again. There was vigilance and a trace of fierceness in his lifeless eyes. After seeing who it was, he lowered his head again. Shi Shang stared at his wrist and watched the blood oozing out. The blood seemed to have gathered into a small stream in her eyes. After a while, she got up and went to the bedroom. She found a first aid kit in the ruins and flipped him onto the sofa. She skillfully bandaged his wound. The porcelain doll did not open her eyes until the Shi Shang bandaged her wound. "Didn't you want me to die?" "I don't want to think about it now." Shi Shang threw all the medicine back into the medicine box. The porcelain doll looked at her strangely and retracted its hand. It turned around and faced Shi Shang with its back. Shi Shang stared at his back for a moment, kicked the medicine box, and left the room with a gloomy face. Hidden mission: The Uncrowned King. Mission target: Mu Yu. Mission objective: The literal meaning. Please understand it yourself. Shi Shang stood outside the door and sneered. The system was trembling slightly. "Host, please calm down. I wanted to give you a mission before, but you were the one who wanted to kill him. What could it do?" Shi Shang was silent for a moment. He restrained the coldness on his face and went downstairs. When they met the D-class demon downstairs, she grabbed him and said, "Take care of the people upstairs." The rank D demon nodded repeatedly. Shi Shang let it go and walked outside. "Host, how did you find out?" The system couldn't help but ask. Shi Shang didn't reply to the system and blocked it. How did she find out? She reached out and touched her heart. It was blood. The blood gave her that intuition. Mu Yu lay on the sofa for a long time. He stared at the rank D demon standing by the door without moving his eyes. "Are you hungry?" The rank D demon felt uncomfortable being stared at for a long time. This was the king's master, so he didn't dare to say anything. Mu Yu pursed his lips and pointed his finger twice in the air. A very small pentagram appeared with 2 words on it. "What about her?" The rank D demon thought for a while before he understood who Mu Yu was asking about. "The king left. I don't know where he went." Mu Yu waved his hand and the pentagram disappeared. He turned around and faced the rank D demon with his back. The rank D demon was speechless. Shi Shang didn't come back until midnight. The rank D demon was guarding the door. When he saw her, he quickly stood up. "King." Shi Shang threw the 2 men to the ground. "How is he?" The rank D demon quickly glanced at the 2 men. They were the demon cleanser. He quickly retracted his gaze and answered respectfully, "He didn't eat anything and didn't get up." Shi Shang pushed the door open. "Bring them in." "Yes." The rank D demon immediately dragged the 2 men and followed behind Shi Shang. The room didn't change much from when she left. The medicine box was still scattered beside the sofa. Mu Yu's back was still facing her. Shi Shang went forward to check his hand. Mu Yu let her do whatever she wanted. Shi Shang forced him to turn over so that he could see the 2 men on the ground. "Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want me to do it for you?" Mu Yu's eyes didn't react. When he saw the 2 men, he finally reacted. He sat up. Shi Shang looked at the rank D demon. "Go back first." The rank D demon didn't dare to say anything. He left the room and closed the door. Shi Shang passed the iron sword to him. "Don't hold back your hatred. It's easy to get sick." Mu Yu glanced at her. "What's your motive?" She wasn't undying. She wanted to leave him. She had been watching coldly from the sidelines. She even wanted to kill him. He could feel the murderous aura from her. But now, she suddenly changed her attitude. He was puzzled. Shi Sheng smiled. I got you. Me. Mu Yu didn't seem to understand this word. A trace of confusion flashed across his face. Mu Yu lowered his eyes. I don't have anything. The Mu family saw him as the disgrace of the family. The people at school called him a monster. Before the contract ended, he wasn't even a devil cleanser. After the contract ended, he was even less of a devil cleanser. In the end, he didn't even have a contract. You have now. Shi Sheng stuffed the iron sword into his hand and held it gently. You have me. Shi Sheng didn't want him to kill, but Mu Yu. There was too much hatred in his heart. If she didn't let him kill, she was afraid that this idiot would walk into an even darker abyss. Although she didn't mind, Mu Yu opened his eyes. His gaze met with Shi Sheng's. That face was very familiar, but he couldn't seem to remember it. It was very blurry. However, at this moment, the outline of that blurry face continued to appear in his mind, forming a clear outline of a face. Who are you? It wasn't the first time he asked this question, but he didn't get an answer every time. Shi Sheng raised his chin slightly. Your contractor. You're not. She was undying. But she wasn't undying either. Is it important? Shi Sheng tilted his head and smiled. You just need to remember that from now on, I'm your contractor. I'll protect you and accompany you until you die. Mu Yu stared at her for a moment and lowered his head. I won't break the contract. Even if I die, I won't. You don't have to waste your energy to numb me. He broke free from Shi Sheng. The iron sword fell from their hands to the ground with a crisp sound. Shi Sheng looked down at the iron sword. The room fell into a dead silence. Asterisk begging for votes. Begging for votes. Chapter 1255. Shi Sheng bent down to pick up the iron sword. She could understand what he was thinking. He didn't know who she was or what she wanted. The contract was a layer of protection that prevented her from hurting him. Seeing that this retard had no memory, she would forgive him for his rude behavior. Shi Sheng stood up with the sword. I'll get someone to deal with the body later. Mu Yu watched her leave the room. His tense body slowly relaxed. He leaned against the sofa, his whole body soft and weak. His gaze fell on the two people on the ground. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yu covered his mouth and coughed. His pale face became even paler. He took out a scalpel from the medical kit beside the sofa. He stood up and walked towards the two people on the ground. Perhaps his coughing woke them up. They were confused for a while. When they saw Mu Yu, they were shocked. Monster. What do you want? Monster. What do you want? Mu Yu's murderous intent intensified. The two people struggled and realized that they were tied up. They shouted at the top of their lungs, "Let us go. If you dare to touch us, the school will not let you go." Mu Yu stood in front of them and was silent for a few seconds. You attacked me first. These two people attacked him in the dormitory first. However, their attention was not on Mu Yu's words. You can talk. This monster could talk. How could he talk? After so many years, who didn't know that the eldest young master of the Mu family was mute, but he could actually speak? How could this be? It was impossible. Mu Yu looked at them condescendingly. A trace of mockery appeared on his pale face. I never said that I couldn't talk. Shi Sheng stood at the door and listened to the noise inside. She looked at the trembling Class D demon. What's your name? The Class D demon hesitated for a moment. Finally, he gritted his teeth and answered, Sly Boy. Good name. Shi Sheng walked downstairs. Clean up. Don't disturb him. Yes, Master. Shi Sheng paused for a moment. He didn't refute the way he addressed him and quickly disappeared into the night. Except for high-level demons whose names were public, low-level demons would not show their real names. Once a high-level demon knew their name, it meant that they had given their lives to the other party. Looking at the night sky, Cunning Child sighed inwardly. He did not know if it was his fortune or misfortune to follow a demon king. He glanced at the door and felt that it was a little abrupt for him to enter at this time, so he stood outside for a while. After the room was quiet for a long time, he carefully entered. The man had already returned to the sofa. 2 corpses were lying in the middle of the room. Their eyes were wide open, filled with fear and despair. There was a blood-stained scalpel on the ground. Sly Child shuddered for no apparent reason. He gently removed the corpse from the room, cleaned up the blood on the floor, and quickly left the room. His master's master was truly a little scary. Of course, Master was still more terrifying. Jiao Tong waited outside for the whole night. When dawn broke, Shishang came back slowly with breakfast in her hands. She gave Jiao Tong a portion, but then she remembered that demons did not need to eat, so she took it back. Jiao Tong was speechless. Master, Jiao Tong followed Shishang into the room and whispered, He seems to be seriously injured. Shishang put down the breakfast and turned to look at Jiao Tong. Mu Yu did look weak yesterday, but that was probably due to excessive blood loss. She had already taken some medicine for him, so his wound should have healed. After all, she had already recovered. Jiao Tong thought that Shishang was asking him silently, so he quickly said, I heard him coughing for the whole night. Shishang looked at the thin figure on the sofa and waved her hand to dismiss Jiao Tong. After Jiao Tong left, Shishang walked to Mu Yu's side and pulled him up from the sofa. Mu Yu opened his eyes. What's the matter? Are you hurt? Mu Yu raised his hand. His wrist was still wrapped in gauze, and it was stained with blood. Not this. No. Mu Yu put down his hand and lay back down. The people from the Mu family will be here soon. If you don't want to be involved, leave this place. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Shishang snorted and bent down to pick him up. Mu Yu's eyes flashed with shock. He reached out to push her away. Let go of me. Shishang looked at him. Be obedient if you don't want to be thrown down by me. I'm your master. Mu Yu glared at her. Even if you're not Wei Shi, the contract can't be changed. Shishang smirked. So what? You tried to control me last time, and what happened in the end? That's because Mu Yu paused. His hands that were pressing against Shishang's shoulders gradually weakened. That's because he was injured. Shishang smelled blood and reminded him. Don't use too much strength. Your wound is bleeding. Mu Yu's strength was getting weaker. Shishang carried him to the table. Mu Yu was a little overwhelmed when he felt something soft beside him. He looked into the empty space. When Shishang put him down on the chair, he heaved a sigh of relief. Shishang picked up the medical box on the ground and put it on the table. She rummaged through the box and then removed the gauze on his wrist. The wound had split open, and the strong smell of blood assaulted her senses. She frowned. How did you come back? Mu Yu did not answer, and Shishang did not continue to ask. He stared at Shishang as she changed his dressing and rebandaged his wound. Shishang pushed the unnecessary things to the other side of the table and pulled the breakfast over. Eat something. The teenager's hair was messy, and his delicate face was full of confusion. Where did you get the money? Demons did not eat, so naturally, they did not have money. I stole it. Shishang dragged a chair over. Do you want me to feed you? The teenager opened his mouth. The tip of his pink tongue could be seen between his pale lips. Shishang pinched herself to stop herself from pouncing on him. Mu Yu's darkness and his occasional naivety were extremely contradictory. However, he was very guarded. She was afraid that she would scare him if she progressed too quickly. She had to take it slow. He glanced at Shishang and spat out 2 words. No need. Mu Yu ate the porridge with his uninjured hand. The porridge tasted very good. It was not bought nearby. Well, How should I tidy up the bedroom? Mu Yu looked up. The person who was sitting next to him was now standing at the door and looking at him. Mu Yu stuck out his tongue and swept the porridge in. I can't live here. You don't have to tidy it up. Are you that afraid of the Mu family? Shi Shang walked back and sat next to him. I'm not afraid. Mu Yu pushed away the half-eaten porridge. But I'm not strong enough to be their enemy. It's not shameful to show weakness. Shi Shang moved closer to him and broke into a smile. You don't have to show weakness to anyone other than me. Chapter 1256. You don't have to show weakness to anyone other than me. Mu Yu stared blankly at Shi Shang. His lifeless eyes were replaced by confusion. He didn't seem to understand what Shi Shang meant, so he didn't react for a long time. Shi Shang slowly approached him. Just as she was about to touch him, a sound came from outside. Master, master. Zhao Tong's voice came through the door. He was anxious and trembling. The confusion in Mu Yu's eyes faded. He leaned back and put some distance between them. They're here. Shi Shang stood up to open the door. Zhao Tong pointed outside the building with a pale face. Demon cleansers are here. Shi Shang walked to the balcony and looked down. The floors here weren't high, so she could see the nearby streets clearly. Heaven Street was filled with good and bad people, but the people here had one thing in common. They were poor. The group of people was easy to recognize. From their behavior and clothes, they could be easily distinguished from the crowd. Demon cleansers were searching the streets. Occasionally, they would encounter demons, and fights would break out. Master, they seem to be looking for someone. Should we hide? He was just a normal demon. His disguise wasn't as good as a high-level demon, so the demon cleansers could easily see through him. You go first. Shi Shang turned and went into the house. What about you, master? Zhao Tong stood at the door and kept stomping his feet to show his uneasiness. If you want to go, then go. If you don't, then shut up. Zhao Tong struggled for a while and ran down the stairs. Shi Shang returned to Mu Yu's side. Are you full? Mu Yu nodded slightly. Shi Shang picked him up again and put him on the sofa. Although he was still a little uncomfortable, Mu Yu didn't struggle this time. He went along with her. She sat beside him calmly. It was as if she didn't care about the demon cleansers below. It's not too late for you to leave now. You're worried about me. Shi Shang glanced sideways. This is my business. It has nothing to do with you. How do you know they're here for you? Shi Shang put her hand on his side. Mu Yu had to lean back. I forgot to tell you. Yesterday, I flipped the student council over. Shi Shang reached out and moved her hand down his brows bit by bit. Mu Yu's eyes widened slightly. In a moment of desperation, he used his injured hand to push her away. His brows furrowed. His wrist lost strength, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. It's not like I'm going to do anything to you. Why are you overreacting? His hand was held by someone else. Can't you use that hand? You have to use this one. Mu Yu bit her lower lip. I forgot. He paused. The student union has no grudge against you. Yes, there will be in the future. Shi Shang sneered. Yesterday's lesson was too easy for them. The people from the student union often bullied Mu Yu. In the past, when the original owner met them, he would teach them a lesson because of the principle that contractors shouldn't be so embarrassed. If she hadn't met him, the original owner wouldn't have helped Mu Yu take revenge. However, these were the people she cherished the most. Not a single one of them could escape. Mu Yu wanted to pull his hand back, but Shi Shang's grip was a little too tight. He exerted a little force, and Shi Shang's hands immediately loosened. Don't use too much force. It's a wound. Mu Yu put his hand back to his side and lowered his head, his silver hair covering his face. You went to the student union to save me? Yes. She didn't use to meddle in other people's business. Just like you, she watched coldly from the sidelines. She would only take action when her dignity was challenged. She was the same as Wei Shi. Shisheng knew he was talking about Wei Shi. Wei Shi was dissatisfied with this contract. Moreover, Wei Shi's temper was a little unruly. She wanted to become stronger and leave Mu Yu. Naturally, she wouldn't meddle in other people's business. You're different to me. Mu Yu pinched the fingertips of his right hand with his left hand. What's different? Because you found that I can make you stronger, right? Shisheng reached out and pinched Mu Yu's chin, forcing him to look up. I'm only interested in you. I don't care about other things. Don't think about other things. Mu Yu didn't respond at all. Don't you understand what you mean? I want your body and your heart. I want you to belong to me. Do you understand? He opened his mouth and said in a small voice, You want me? Shisheng nodded very seriously. I want you. Mu Yu fell silent again. Shisheng looked at him and guessed that he still didn't understand. Shisheng pressed him onto the sofa. Mu Yu's expression suddenly changed. Don't come over. Don't come over. A trace of panic appeared on his face. His pale face looked especially pitiful. He hugged himself and pressed his body against the sofa behind him. He stared at her warily. Don't come over. Shisheng was speechless. What was wrong with him? Couldn't he be a normal person? Why was it so difficult for I to be in a relationship? Shisheng backed away just as she heard footsteps coming from outside. Mu Yu jumped down from the sofa and walked barefoot to the other side of the room. The panic on his face faded as he walked. Bam! The door was kicked open. Mu Yu looked over expressionlessly. A few people came in from outside. When they saw the people in the room, they immediately raised their weapons. Someone shouted outside, Young master is here. Soon, people came in one after another. A bespectacled man walked into the room under everyone's gaze. These people were obviously led by this bespectacled man. The bespectacled man looked around the room and his sharp gaze landed on Shisheng. Young master, I'm afraid your familiar will have to be taken care of by the family for a period of time. Mu Yu didn't say anything. The bespectacled man continued, Young master, this is the last time. If you make another mistake, the family won't protect you anymore. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand. Take him away. Mu Yu didn't react. He waited for the people to come closer and followed them obediently. Mu Yu, Shisheng called out. Mu Yu paused and glanced sideways. Shisheng stretched out his hand. Come here. Mu Yu stared at the hand. His feet turned slightly, but he stopped in the next second. Young master, please. The bespectacled man looked at him coldly. The coldness between Shisheng's eyebrows gradually froze. Mu Yu, I'll say it one last time. Come here. How dare you? The bespectacled man shouted. This is not the place for a familiar like you to speak. Shisheng glanced at him. When I'm speaking, it's not the place for a dog to bark. You. The bespectacled man was so angry that his face turned ashen. Take young master away. Mu Yu looked at the coldness on his face and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. He subconsciously walked towards Shisheng. The people beside him wanted to stop him, but when they reached out their hands, they were pricked by something. Ah! They raised their hands and looked. Their hands were charred as if they had been roasted by something. Mu Yu walked back to Shisheng unimpeded and put his hand in hers. Shisheng withdrew his hand. I've said before that you don't need to show weakness to anyone other than me. Remember this. If anyone dares to disrespect you, I'll help you pay them back 100 times. Chapter 1257. Mu Yu was awakened by this voice. He was a little stunned and confused. He didn't seem to understand why he was in front of her. The bespectacled man's voice came from behind. It was ear-piercing and sharp. Young master, are you trying to make your demon rebel? Shisheng pulled Mu Yu behind him and said arrogantly, So what if it's a rebellion? You're courting death. The bespectacled man was enraged. Through the lenses, one could see the anger burning in his eyes. Catch them, dead or alive. Dead or alive. They didn't care about Mu Yu's life. There was no movement in Mu Yu's lifeless eyes. He looked down at Shi Shang's hand that was holding him. The bespectacled man's people had already rushed over. Mu Yu suddenly raised his hand and a black pentagram appeared under his feet. The people over there were stunned. You contracted a demon? As soon as the man finished speaking, his body was sent flying and hit the wall in the room. Mu Yu rarely fought back, so from the beginning to the end, no one knew that he had summoned a demon. However, once he fought, the star map was very obvious. Only a demon cleanser who had contracted a demon would have a black star map. Mu Yu raised his hand and waved. The people standing beside him were also sent flying. The bespectacled man reacted and shouted. A dark blue pentagram appeared under his feet. The blue light condensed into an inch-long sharp awl that shot toward Shi Shang and Mu Yu. Mu Yu waved his hand in the air. A black shield rose from below and blocked the sharp awls. The sharp awls hit the shield and sparks flew. The air pressure in the room seemed to increase, squeezing people's internal organs. An ordinary person would not be able to withstand it. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yu suddenly coughed. The pentagram under his feet began to flicker. The black shield faded and became faintly discernible. Shi Shang pulled Mu Yu to his side and waved his iron sword. The sword aura swept through the sharp awls and they were all cut into pieces in the air. The bespectacled man was swept by the sword aura and fell out of the room. There was a crashing sound outside. Mu Yu's body slowly slid down. Shi Shang was shocked. He threw away his iron sword and caught him. She carried him and put him on the sofa. What's wrong? She didn't feel any discomfort. Mu Yu coughed a few times and his breathing seemed to be a little irregular. After a while he raised his head to look at her, but it was only a glance. After that, he lowered his eyes and did not say a word. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yu covered his mouth. His face was frighteningly pale. Cough, cough. He opened his palm, which was covered in blood. F***ck. Shi Shang scolded him and took out a tissue to wipe his hands. What's wrong with your body? Why didn't she feel anything? This was illogical. This retard is still not saying anything. This is simply infuriating. Up there, quick. He actually dares to form a contract with a demon. Such a person must be executed. There was a commotion outside the door. Shi Shang's expression turned cold. She threw away the blood-stained paper in her hand and turned to look at the door. Before those people could enter the door, a strange gust of wind suddenly came from inside the door. The person running in front was directly thrown off the balcony and smashed down. Shi Shang dragged the iron sword out of the door. Demon, she's a demon. Mu Yu really made a contract with a demon. Kill him, kill him. F***ck. Shi Shang was furious at this moment. Without hesitation, she slashed in that direction. The cold light flashed across the eyes of the crowd, and waves of cold air swept over. Ah! Shi Shang threw the person off the balcony and pointed the iron sword at the person over there. Who else wants to kill him? The group of people stepped back and looked at each other. This demon is so powerful. 3 seconds later, one of them roared, "Go!" A group of people rushed up from the narrow passage. Pentagrams of various colors flashed under their feet, making the passage colorful. Mu Yu listened to the sounds of fighting outside. Different lights flashed at the door and then disappeared. Shadows swayed, but no one could reach the door. They were all blocked outside by her. Screams sounded one after another. Shi Shang threw the last person off the balcony. Looking down from the balcony, she saw a group of people staring at her with anger and hatred. That's a demon. She sneered. Don't make it seem like I killed your father. We're all natural enemies. It's either you die or I die. Have a normal mentality. Everyone. How was their mentality abnormal? Could it be that after you killed so many people, they still had to clap their hands and cheer for you to kill well? Wei Shi, do you think you can run away? Shi Shang sneered. When did I say I was going to run away? With your abilities, I don't need to run away. Everyone, then why would you need to run away? Was she looking down on them? But from her tone, it seemed that there was no contempt. There was only a sense of arrogance, the kind of arrogance that could reach the heavens. Shi Shang knocked on the iron railing of the balcony with his sword. Do you still want to fight? If not, get lost. Everyone, they had never seen such an arrogant demon. Go back and get reinforcements. The group of people ran out in a flash. Shi Shang smirked, jumped down from the balcony and chased after them. Everyone was blocked by Shi Shang at a dead end. Didn't you let us go? Why did you chase after us? How could this demon go back on his words? Did I say I wouldn't chase after you? Shi Shang rolled his eyes at that person. I know you're going back to complain. I'm not stupid enough to let you go back. Everyone, come, let's see who dies first. Shi Shang waved his sword heroically. Who wanted to die? They didn't want to die. Fight. Everyone exchanged glances and rushed toward Shi Shang at the same time. Shi Shang was furious. F***K, can't you all queue up? Even if you want to die, you should form a group. There's no discount. What's wrong with you? Why do you ask people to queue up when you want to kill someone? What's wrong with you? Shi Shang took care of that group of people and went back with his sword. As soon as she entered, she saw the bespectacled man standing a little closer to the door. He was holding his hand and looking at Mu Yu with a pale face. When Shi Shang came in, the bespectacled man glared at her fiercely. Shi Shang glanced at his hand and was amused. Do you think I'll let him stay here alone? He's so big, so he must have killed a lot of demons. It's a miracle that he's still alive. The bespectacled man. He retracted his hand and endured the pain. He gritted his teeth and asked, What level are you? She was definitely not an ordinary demon. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for no one to notice her when she was at the Mu family's house. He remembered that Mu Yu had attended a banquet with her. At that time, a respectable senior in the family was present, but he didn't notice her at all. What was the level of this demon? Chunibyu Shang flipped her hair and squinted at the bespectacled man. You're not qualified to know my level. The bespectacled man. Shi Shang rolled his eyes and suddenly said, Let me ask you something. If you answer correctly, I'll tell you my level. How about that? The bespectacled man. Crazy. This plot point was Mu Yu's growth period when he became a boss. Therefore, it was normal for him to be weak. How could he be so strong without going through hardships? Asking for votes from Hua Mulan today. Asking for monthly votes starting in April. Everyone has a guaranteed monthly vote at the beginning of the month. You're all millionaires now. I'll depend on you guys to get on the list. Cherub, please vote for me. Love you guys. Happy April Fool's Day. I refuse to give fake votes. Give real votes. Chapter 1258. Shi Shang blocked the door and the window was too far away. The man finally gritted his teeth. What do you want to ask? If he could find out what level she was at, the clan would be better prepared. Shi Shang pointed at Mu Yu. I have a blood contract with him, but I feel like he's going to die, but I'm fine. What's the reason? The original owner wanted to dominate the world. She didn't care much about the outside world except for leveling up. There wasn't much useful information in her memory. Blood contract. The man's eyes darkened. You made a blood contract with him. Even if it was with a familiar, very few people would make a blood contract with it. Not to mention that the other party was a demon. Just answer my question. I don't need you to remind me of anything else. Uncle Huan. Mu Yu suddenly called out. His pupils returned to their original blue color, but there was no beauty in them. There was only a blue that made people feel depressed. Once you fell into it, there was no way to get out of it. The man seemed to know that Mu Yu could speak, so he didn't show any shock when he suddenly spoke. His expression changed quickly. I don't know. Shi Shang scratched his head and said to Mu Yu, You let him hide it from me. Do you think I can't find out? Mu Yu turned his head and pursed his lips. He didn't want to say more. There are very few records of blood contracts. I really don't know. The man emphasized. Oh. Shi Shang looked away. Then you're useless alive. Why don't you go down and play mahjong with your friends? You. The man looked at Shi Shang walking over with the cold iron sword. He couldn't help but step back until he leaned against the wall. He felt a chill on his back. The woman in front of him was different from all the demons he had seen. Those demons were ferocious, ugly, dirty, and lowly. But the woman in front of him was indifferent, calm, and noble. She didn't have any characteristics that a demon should have. Or, she was more like a king demon described in ancient books. The man's scalp tingled. There hadn't been a king demon in the world for hundreds of years. It was impossible. Shi Shang smiled faintly. Goodbye. The man looked at the iron sword falling over his head. The cold light reflected by the iron sword filled his eyes. Wei Shi, stop. A loud shout came from outside. The bespectacled man quickly turned his head with a horrified expression. Young Master Yi, why are you here? Let's go back and look for the patriarch. The bespectacled man's voice stopped abruptly. He lowered his head stiffly to look at his chest. The iron sword was being pulled out of his body, and blood was gushing out. Plop! Wei Shi! Mu Yi roared, his eyes abnormally red. How dare you? I'm a demon. Shi Shang turned around and pointed his blood-dripping iron sword at Mu Yi. Why wouldn't I dare? Mu Yi choked and suddenly shouted at Mu Yu, Mu Yu, are you just going to watch her kill people? Mu Yu was silent. Mu Yi looked at the glasses man on the ground and lost control of his emotions. Shi Shang looked at the plot and remembered that the glasses man treated Mu Yi quite well. She treated Mu Yi well, but not so well with the porcelain doll. Mu Yi suppressed his anger. Wei Shi, you killed so many people. The Mu family will not let you go. You will be hunted down by the Mu family. You are a stray dog. Oh, what does it have to do with you? Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. Are you going to follow me? Mu Yi sneered and raised the phone in his hand. The Mu family will be here soon. Shi Shang did not care. So be it. Do I have to go out and set off fireworks to welcome them? So, young Master Mu, what's your purpose? What's the point of beating around the bush? Mu Yi definitely had a purpose. Otherwise, he would not have appeared at this time and said so much nonsense. Mu Yi narrowed his eyes and looked at Shi Shang. Mu Yu has a piece of jade on her. Give it to me and I will send you away. Oh, you still want to follow us? Shi Shang was exaggeratedly surprised. Mu Yi did not say anything. The jade on Mu Yu was very useful. He had read the story. It was Mu Yu's biggest golden finger in the future. He had to get it. Time waits for no one. Shi Shang nodded. Yes, repeat what you said just now. Mu Yi frowned. Which one? When you said that you would send us away if we gave you the jade. Repeat it word for word. I didn't hear it clearly. Mu Yi looked at Shi Shang. Her hands were outside and she was holding an iron sword. There was nothing strange about it. Mu Yu has a piece of jade on her. Give it to me and I will send you away. As soon as Mu Yi finished speaking, Shi Shang rushed over and kicked him in the stomach. F***CKU. How dare you covet his things? Are you tired of living? Huh? You still want it? I'll let you have it. When Shi Shang was violent, even she was afraid of herself. Mu Yi was hit so suddenly that he almost had no chance to fight back. After beating him up, Shi Shang dragged him out and threw him off the balcony. The male lead would not die. At most, he would break an arm or a leg. Mu Yi fell right in front of the Mu family. In the original owner's memory, there was a person who walked in front. He was Mu Yu's father and the current head of the Mu family, Mu Hui. He did not look like a porcelain doll at all. He was tall and burly. Those who did not know him would think that he was a butcher. His genes had suddenly changed. Someone fell in front of Mu Hui. He subconsciously looked up. There was a girl standing on the balcony. She was not far away. He could even see the mocking smile on her face. Then she entered the house, dragged out another person, and threw him down in front of them. Everyone, the people of the Mu family, checked the two people who fell down. Mu Yi was only knocked unconscious, but the bespectacled man was dead. Head of the Mu family, Mu Huan, is dead. Mu Hui looked at the person who reported. His eyes were filled with anger. He roared, "Surround this place. I want to see what that bastard wants to do today." Shi Shang stood on the balcony and looked down at the people below. "Hey, I say, can you guys change your bad habit of slandering people without distinguishing between right and wrong?" Before everyone could react, she said, "I killed him. What are you blaming Mu Yu for?" Everyone, was there a difference? You were Mu Yu's contractor. If you killed him, wouldn't that mean that he killed him? Shi Shang watched as they surrounded the building. She propped up her chin in a leisurely manner. "Is Mu Yi dead?" Mu Hui subconsciously glanced at Mu Yi. Although he was not his son, he was the most talented in the Mu family. Therefore, he doted on him more than his own son. Mu Yi was unconscious, and the culprit was his son. Mu Hui's face darkened. "You're cold Wei Shi? Why else would you be? *Gachin hashtag thank you to the cherub who sent me on the list yesterday hashtag please give me a monthly vote. Voting for fake votes is not allowed. Stern face, vote for real if you dare hashtag." Chapter 1259. Mu Hui asked again, "Are you a demon? If not, are you?" Shi Shang repeated the answer without missing a single word. Mu Hui's eyes flashed with disgust. It was directed at both Shi Shang and Mu Yu. Side mission: Mu Yu's origin. Shi Shang was speechless. Wasn't this part written in the plot? Why the hell did you release it? Shi Shang was stunned. No, it wasn't written in the plot. Mu Yu's origin wasn't written in the plot because he had been demoted from the male lead to a supporting character. It was obvious that this mission was made up randomly. Why was it so careless? What do you think is careless? Shouldn't it be something like destroying the world? Shouldn't it be something like killing 100 people? Haha. If it released such a careless mission, the host would fly. It's better not to be careless. It's better to live longer. The system took a while to react. Its host didn't reject the mission this time. Thinking about the side missions she accepted, she either rejected them directly or completed them inexplicably. The number of side missions she completed on her own initiative could be counted on one hand. Did the sun rise from the west today? Shi Shang looked at the people below again. They had already surrounded the building. Mu Hui looked up at him. "I'll give you a chance. Come down now." Shi Shang imitated Mu Hui's tone and replied, "I'll give you a chance. Get lost now." However, his tone was very different. Mu Hui suppressed his anger and gloominess. Shi Shang was obviously arrogant. In the eyes of the people below, it was a blatant provocation. Mu Hui's face darkened. "Do it." Shi Shang looked at the pentagram array that appeared under the feet of the people below. Compared to the previous ones, this pentagram array was more dazzling and had a much larger range. Countless rays of light flew out from the pentagram array and swept up, weaving into a cross-shaped net that enveloped the entire building. This was similar to the Student Union's square lock. However, compared to the half-baked Student Union, this was definitely much more impressive. The Student Union's rays of light couldn't be unified, but the Mu family's rays of light had all turned golden after intertwining. Be it demon cleansers or demons, when they used their powers, there would be incantations. The incantations would form moves. Shi Shang's feet moved slightly, and a black six-pointed star array appeared. It was not very big, only about 1 meter in diameter with her as the center. The original host knew some spells, but Shi Shang didn't use them. Instead, he activated the six-pointed star array on his own. The 6 streams of black light that appeared from the 6 directions of the hexagram flew around her and quickly interwove into a pure black sword. Shi Shang stared at the sword and drew a circle with his finger. The black sword followed suit. Was it really possible? She raised her hand, and the black sword rushed into the gap in the air. Everyone was shocked. They all activated the pentagram array and sped up the weaving speed. They were determined to complete the ceiling when the black sword reached the top. Shi Shang just looked up and didn't speed up like the people below. The gap was getting smaller and smaller, but the black sword was still some distance away. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Whoosh! A cold light suddenly shot up from below. It was so fast that no one could see what it was. In the next second, a gap appeared in the light that had been completely sealed. The top of the semicircle quickly collapsed. Something fell from a higher place and slowly expanded. As the cold light approached, a strong pressure came from above. Clang! The pressure carried the wind and spread from the place where the iron sword landed. Invisible waves swept in all directions, and smoke and dust rose. The fragile buildings were directly destroyed. The people below naturally couldn't withstand such pressure. Many of them were directly sent flying and smashed into the buildings next to them. Patriarch, are you okay? Mu Hui's face darkened. He flicked the dust off his body. I'm fine. Be careful. At this time, there was dust everywhere. Their vision was blocked, and it was easy to be sneak attacked. But when the smoke and dust dispersed, there was no movement. The sword was stuck in the ground. Just a glance at it made people feel cold and threatening. Where is she? Mu Hui looked up and didn't see anyone. He immediately shouted. The people who were still looking at the sword also looked up at the balcony. It was empty. There was nothing there. Pay attention to the surroundings. Quickly find her. The people around them dispersed. She broke our barrier so easily. Patriarch, what's the level of this demon? Mu Hui narrowed his eyes. It's not her. It's that sword. What level? He couldn't tell. Mu Hui's heart couldn't help but sink. This demon was not easy to deal with. Sword. Everyone looked at the iron sword in the air. This sword looked a little scary, but it looked like an ordinary iron sword. How could such a good sword be so ordinary? A man beside Mu Hui suggested, "Shall I go and take a look?" Mu Hui didn't refute or agree. The man took his consent and walked towards the iron sword. Everyone held their breaths and stared at him. Just as he was approaching, someone came down the stairs. Her slender legs were perfectly arched by the school skirt. Those legs were enough for people to play with for a year. Shi Shang walked down the last step and leaned against the iron door. He looked at the man with a faint smile. You want to take the sword? Take it. They thought that she was hiding or preparing to sneak attack. Who would have thought that she would come down the stairs? This didn't fit the plot of a blockbuster. The man froze on the spot. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he gritted his teeth and rushed to the iron sword. He reached out and pulled it out. He thought that it would be easy to pull the iron sword out, but the sword didn't move at all. It was as if it was rooted to the ground. The man glanced at Shi Shang. There was a smile on her face. He couldn't tell what it meant, but it looked a little creepy. At this point, the man gritted his teeth. He held the sword with both hands and tried to pull it out. He used all his strength, but the iron sword didn't move at all. Shi Shang raised his hand gently. The man was bounced back by a strong force. He staggered and fell to the ground. The iron sword rose automatically in front of him. It circled twice in the air and fell into Shi Shang's hand. What weapon is this? I don't know. It doesn't even have a star map. The weapons in this world could move, but there must be a star map. When the sword rose, there was no star map. How did it move on its own? Shi Shang stabbed the iron sword into the ground. He held the sword with one hand and raised his eyebrows. He started to talk nonsense. Sword breaks heaven and earth. This sword is called Heaven and Earth. Whoever has this sword will be invincible. The Iron Sword. Master, why did you give me a random name? Why did you give me a random setting? Shi Shang was silent for a while. Then he said, "It's easier to show off. Asterisk, this is a fake group. The Iron Sword. Master, can you give me a normal name next time?" Shi Shang. A normal sword? The Iron Sword. I'll run away from home. Shi Shang. Run away from home and show me. The Iron Sword. You'll lose me. Shi Shang. Let me see you lose one. The Iron Sword. System. Brother, don't struggle. At least she didn't give you the name Buttface. The Iron Sword. Now that you mention it, I think I'm a little more open-minded. System. Where's the friendship between brothers? Little Fairy. Let me interrupt. The Iron Sword, horrified. You won't even let go of a non-human? Little Fairy. What are you thinking? I just want to ask for a vote. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.